Chapter 2584. Without the Chaos 9-colored lotus, Longao wouldn't have dared to step into the spring of chaos so casually. An immortal body could disregard everything. As long as he wasn't suppressed by the spring of chaos, everything would be fine. He took a step forward. Longao disappeared in an instant and stepped directly into the primal chaos spring. This time, Longao directly used the Chaos Palace. Needless to say, the Chaos Palace was powerful. If he could use the Chaos Palace to devour the surrounding chaotic energy, it wouldn't be a bad thing. He took a deep breath. As soon as he stepped in, Longao directly entered the Chaos Palace. He didn't fight it head-on because the current situation wasn't good for him. There was no need to take the risk. Even if the Chaos 9-colored lotus could make him immortal, it didn't mean that he wouldn't be suppressed by the chaos. If that really happened, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Until now, Longao hadn't really controlled the Chaos Palace. But even so, he could still control the Chaos Palace. Would he succeed? Longao didn't know because he didn't understand the Chaos Palace at all. This time, he stepped into the spring of chaos with an attitude of trying to see if he could succeed. Longao was overjoyed when he felt the surrounding chaotic energy gushing into the primal Chaos Palace. He was pleasantly surprised. He knew very well what it meant for the Chaos Palace to be able to devour chaotic energy. In the beginning, Ao Long had to guide the Chaos Palace to devour the power of chaos with all his might. However, after a few dozen minutes, Ao Long no longer needed to guide the Chaos Palace. The Chaos Palace operated on its own and began to devour the power of chaos around it. He stood quietly within the primal Chaos Palace as he watched the primal chaos power being devoured. It entered the primal Chaos Palace in a very strange way before forming a huge black sphere. The black sphere was the chaotic energy outside. When it gathered to a certain extent, the black sphere stopped expanding. Although it stopped, the speed of devouring was getting faster and faster. The black sphere was like a bottomless pit. Not only did it devour faster and faster, it didn't even change in size. Longao didn't dare to take a step forward because he could clearly feel that the black sphere was too terrifying. Even if it was him, he would be suppressed instantly if he got close to the black sphere. If he was suppressed by the black sphere in the Chaos Palace, he would become a joke. He waited quietly. Longao didn't try to swallow the power of chaos. No matter what, he hadn't refined the attributeless Chaos Stone tablet yet. Otherwise, the results would be completely different. As for good or bad, Longao was almost certain that the more primal Chaos Palace devoured, the better it would be for the primal Chaos Palace. As for what the benefits were, no one knew. In the current situation, they could only wait. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. He had been devouring for 3 whole years. 3 years was nothing to Longao, but it wasn't a good thing for the Empire. I wonder if the Empire has been locked onto. Longao was extremely worried in his heart. However, the Chaos Hall was still devouring the surrounding chaotic energy continuously. Even though its speed had decreased slightly, it was still pretty much the same. If this continued, who knew when it would end? It was very depressing. If he had known this would happen, he would not have borrowed the primal Chaos Palace to devour the primal chaos energy. Now, he was trapped here, unable to move. Without the protection of the primal Chaos Palace, wanting to leave the source of primal chaos was simply a pipe dream. Force it. Longao had already thought it through. If the Chaos Hall was still devouring the primal chaos energy, then even if it was dangerous, he would forcefully stop the devouring. The longer he delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for the Empire. Hence, he had to return as soon as possible to be at ease. It continued to devour. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, another year had passed. Longao had completely realized that if he allowed the Chaos Hall to continue devouring the primal chaos energy, not to mention 1 or 3 years, even 3 to 5,000 years might not be enough. Rather than waiting for such a long time, he might as well settle it now. As for the Chaos Hall devouring the primal chaos energy, since it had succeeded this time, it meant that he could casually step into the source of primal chaos and borrow the Chaos Hall to devour the primal chaos energy. Longao did not personally take action because no one knew if the black sphere would backfire on him. It was better to be safe than sorry. Of course, Longao would not casually take this risk. Instead, he held the Chaos Axe and slashed at the black sphere. Not only that, he tried to control the Chaos Hall to see if he could forcefully stop the devouring. There was a loud boom. It was true that what one feared would happen. Just as Longao was about to increase his strength and before he could even react, the situation suddenly changed. His entire body was covered by the black sphere. Startled, Longao screamed in his heart. He was not worried that he would die. After all, he had fused with the Chaos 9-colored lotus and was immortal. Even the primal chaos energy could not do that. However, not dying did not mean that he was not simple. Longao knew very well that once he was sealed by the black sphere, the consequences would be unimaginable. After all, his current situation was very unfavorable and he could not afford to waste any time. Their surroundings were pitch black and they didn't suffer any attacks. It was like a black space. From the outside, the black sphere didn't look too big. However, after entering the black sphere, the entire space became very big. It was like a plane of existence. Longao was very curious. He walked slowly, step by step, and tried to release the power of his soul to see if it could cover this black sphere space. However, the final result made him very disappointed, because as long as he released the power of his soul, it would be blocked. It couldn't even reach a range of tens of meters. What was going on? Longao was very curious because he could almost be sure that this was a space formed by the fusion of the primal chaos energy. As for why it was not attacked, he did not know. The surrounding space was almost exactly the same. There was no difference. Longao didn't want to stay any longer. Instead, he began to prepare to leave this place. He couldn't stay here forever. His spirit could not go beyond tens of meters. It was too difficult to find the exit. Even so, Longao had no choice. He had already wasted a lot of time and he could not afford to waste any more time. Longao tried to use time teleportation, but found that it was impossible. He could only try to use his fastest speed to see if he could find the exit in the shortest amount of time. However, it was still that sentence. It was easy to think about it, but it was very difficult to actually do it. Chapter 2585. Pest. Right at this moment. Suddenly, a hissing sound came from all around. It wasn't ear-piercing, but it definitely wasn't pleasant to hear. Instantly stopping, Longao looked around curiously. He didn't know what was going on with the sound that suddenly came over. There was no movement. There wasn't the slightest difference. Longao became more and more curious. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't dare to act rashly because he didn't know what was going on around him. If he suffered a backlash, who knew what would happen? It was already not easy to find the exit. If they encountered an accident, it would be even more difficult. If it were any other time, Longao wouldn't have cared. But now, the situation was completely different. It was better to be safe than sorry. No one knew what was going on with this black sphere. If they took a wrong step, the consequences would be unimaginable. Pest. The sizzling sound was getting closer and closer, as if it was right in front of him. Longao had just taken a few steps when he stopped again. His expression became more and more serious. How strange. Longao could not sense any aura of the power of primal chaos in his surroundings. Basically, there was no flow of aura at all. As for sound, as long as he stopped, the sizzling sound would immediately stop. Once he moved, the sizzling sound would return to normal. It was too strange. Zhongxian took a step forward, and just as he had expected, there was a hissing sound all around him, as if it was right beside his ears. Chaos Axe. Just as Longao was wondering what was going on around him, the situation suddenly changed. The primal Chaos Axe, which was originally in the primal Chaos Palace, suddenly appeared in front of him and floated quietly. Without waiting for Longao to react, a sizzling sound appeared from all around. Suddenly, it quickly rushed towards this side. Not long after, Countless black air currents emerged. It turned out to be the sizzling sound of the black airflow. Could it be because of the Chaos Axe? Longao was very clear in his heart that the primal Chaos Axe could not appear here casually. Moreover, he even asserted that the Starry Sky divine tool he obtained was definitely not simple. Especially when combined with the primal Chaos 9 axes, it was simply incomparable. Just the first move, Hell's Devour, had already given him a pleasant surprise. Not to mention, there were still 8 moves to follow. The more he thought about it, the more he looked forward to it. Longao did not act rashly. This was because the heaven-defying Starry Sky God weapon had its own spirituality. Take Bai Ling and Xiling for example. Both of them were originally sword bodies. After countless years of cultivation, they finally became Jianling. Countless black air currents gushed out from all directions and headed straight for the chaotic axe without any hesitation. He was shocked. Even though he knew, Longao couldn't help but be shocked. Countless streams of black air began to surge into the Chaos Axe. Because it was moving too fast, the kai-kai sound became louder and louder. It was like thunder from the 9 heavens. The black airflow has formed a pattern on the Chaos Axe. As the black airflow gathered faster and faster, it gradually formed a pattern on the surface of the Chaos Axe. However, it was still impossible to tell what the pattern was. What kind of pattern was it? About 10 minutes later, Longao began to recognize the pattern formed by the black airflow on the Chaos Axe. If it was before, he wouldn't have recognized it. However, it was all too familiar to him now. The pattern on the Chaos Axe was none other than the 9-colored lotus. The 9-colored lotus pattern was almost exactly the same as the chaotic 9-colored lotus that was formed by the Chaos Seal. Longao was very curious. He didn't know what was going on. After the 9-colored lotus was formed, the surrounding black airflow stopped gushing in and the Chaos Axe returned to Longao's hands. Longao gently stroked the Chaos Axe in his hand, especially the 9-colored lotus pattern on the Chaos Axe. Until now, he still didn't know what was going on. He was very curious. He shrugged helplessly. Once Longao's hand touched the 9-colored lotus pattern on the Chaos Axe, he felt a blood connection. Vaguely, there seemed to be a very strange feeling. Longao's intuition told him. The 9-colored lotus that was just formed on the Chaos Axe must be related to the 9-colored lotus that he merged with. As for what kind of connection it was, he didn't know. Longao gently closed his eyes. The surrounding black airflow with countless chi all gushed into the Chaos Axe. In just a few seconds, the Chaos Axe devoured the entire black sphere. Suddenly, he opened his eyes and looked at the Chaos Palace. Longao wasn't surprised because he already knew that this would be the result from the moment he held the Chaos Axe. Hence, he wasn't worried at all. All the chaos energy that was devoured by the Chaos Axe. As for him, he still got nothing. He felt very helpless. Even if he was unwilling, there was nothing he could do because Longao found a problem. The chaos energy that was devoured by the Chaos Axe had nothing to do with him. In desperation, Longao could only choose to leave. It took him a long time to leave the Chaos Spring. This time, Longao didn't continue to stay because it was impossible to rely on the Chaos Spring to break through the limit of the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. Instead of that, he might as well think of other ways to help his cultivation to break through smoothly. After returning to the Soaring Dragon Empire, Longao was relieved to find that his family was fine. In the past few years, he was most worried about his family. The empire was his bottom line. After spending some time with his grandfather, parents and wife, Longao put his mind on the vast starry sky. Longao was very surprised that the 9 great starry sky empires of the Dragon Clan, Massacre Clan and Human Clan had joined forces. He never thought that the Dragon Clan and Human Clan would join forces against the Massacre Clan. It was crazy. Immediately finding Long Ying, Longao went straight to the point and said, "Big brother, regarding the matter of the vast starry sky, I believe you already know that the 3 pinnacle races have joined hands, and if we still sit and wait for death, then there will be a lot of trouble." As the emperor of the Soaring Dragon Empire, Long Ying went out from time to time. Of course, he knew about the 3 great clans joining forces. Everyone in the vast starry sky knew that the three great clans joined forces to deal with Longao. This was also what Long Ying was worried about. Seventh brother, the current situation is very unfavorable for us. In your opinion, what should we do now? Even Long Ying didn't know what to do for a while. After all, the three great clans were too powerful. Unless the Starry Sky Dominator came, no one could be their opponent. P.S. The 9th chapter has been delivered. The remaining chapter will be delivered later. Chapter 2586. He was very afraid. Long Ying looked worried. After all, he knew better than anyone what it meant for the three pinnacle races to join hands. Even if his seventh brother was extremely talented and powerful, he would never believe that his seventh brother could fight against the three peak races alone, even if he was beaten to death. His seventh brother was only a Starry Sky Immortal, not even a peak Starry Sky Immortal. Adding up the pinnacle dragon race, the pinnacle slaughterer race, and the pinnacle human race, there were 11 half-step Starry Sky Dominators. What did that mean? Big brother, I believe you know what the pinnacle slaughterer race means. Now that the pinnacle dragon race and the pinnacle human race have joined hands, it's a mistake in itself. What did that mean? Long Ying was very curious about his seventh brother's meaning. Of course, Long Ying knew the history of the pinnacle slaughterer race. In the past, the pinnacle slaughterer race would not have dared to rise again. After waiting for so many years and feeling that no one in the universe was against them, the pinnacle slaughterer race dared to appear and rise again. Even so, what could they do? Seventh brother, what do you mean? Long Ying smiled. Big brother, the pinnacle slaughterer race is the biggest taboo in the universe. Let's beat them at their own game and spread the news about the past of the pinnacle slaughterer race. In an instant, Long Ying understood the meaning of Longao's words. I'll do it now. Not daring to be careless, Long Ying immediately left and arranged for people to do it. In just a few hours, the news about the three pinnacle races had spread throughout the universe, especially the pinnacle slaughterer race. They deliberately exaggerated as much as possible. Originally, many people did not have a good impression of the pinnacle slaughterer race. Because of this, everyone hated them even more. The pinnacle slaughterer race had killed countless people from the four major races. Although many years had passed, the hatred could not be forgotten. If it were not for the strength of the pinnacle slaughterer race, someone would have taken revenge long ago. Longao did not think that others could help him deal with the pinnacle slaughterer race. No matter what. As one of the 6 pinnacle races, the pinnacle slaughterer race was strong and had a half-step Starry Sky Dominator. Unless the other top clans made a move, no one would be able to shake the position of the top slaughter clan. Longao's intention was very simple. He wanted everyone in the vast starry sky to know how shameless the peak-level dragons and peak-level humans were. Would he care? Whether it was the peak human race or the peak dragon race, he did not care at all. If it were any other matter, the two pinnacle races would definitely not join hands to attack the pinnacle slaughterer clan. This was without a doubt. Except for Longao. Even Master God Diviner was unable to kill Longao. The 9 of them were completely helpless. As for Yu Bubai, it was not only for the sake of Longao, but also for the sake of the Dragon Slayer. If they wanted to kill the 2 of them, it was basically impossible with their strength alone. They could only join forces with the other 2 pinnacle races. He ignored everyone's dissatisfaction and curses. Soaring Dragon Realm. Inside the Grand Hall. 7th brother, according to your instructions, I've already spread the news throughout the vast starry sky. However, the peak humans and the peak dragons don't care at all. Long Ying knew very well what his 7th brother meant. However, he did not expect that neither the peak human race nor the peak dragon race would care about this matter. If that was the case, then no one would be able to deal with the 3 pinnacle races. Big brother, we're fine for the time being. In the vast starry sky, not to mention others, even Master God Diviner would find it difficult to lock onto our position in a short period of time. Longao was still very confident about this. This was because under normal circumstances, if Master God Diviner could lock onto the Empire's position, then he would not have been helpless for so many years. However, Longao did not tell his big brother about his worries because he knew very well that even if Master God Diviner could not lock onto the Empire's position now, it did not mean that he would not be able to do so in the future. If he was unlucky and the Empire was locked onto by Master God Diviner, then things would be troublesome. Even if Master God Diviner did not personally take action, others would not have the slightest chance. How could Long Ying not know what his seventh brother was implying? However, since Longao did not say anything, he did not continue to ask. Seventh brother, what are we going to do next? Let me think about it. The current situation was very unfavorable for him. The longer he delayed, the more unfavorable it would be for him and the Empire. Therefore, he had to think of a way to deal with this matter. No matter what happened, he could not let anything happen to the Empire. However, none of those who had swallowed the Chaos Tablets had been able to successfully refine them and become a Starry Sky Dominator. If someone in the Empire could become a Starry Sky Dominator, even if it was only one person, then the Empire and he would not be so passive. If that was really the case, then the situation would be completely reversed. He felt helpless because refining a primal Chaos Tablet was not an easy task. The person who had obtained the 12 primal Chaos Tablets had spent countless years refining them. One could imagine how difficult it was to refine a primal Chaos Tablet. Sitting alone in the main hall, Longao's expression was very dignified. 3 days later, Longao could not sit still anymore. After leaving the Soaring Dragon Realm, he went to the number 1 Starry Sky Empire of the human race. He wanted to see if the 3 pinnacle races were like an iron plate. Longao did not show himself because the situation was completely different now. Once the 3 pinnacle races found out about him, they would definitely go all out to deal with him. If he did not show up, then he might find an opportunity. Longao's intention was very simple. He wanted to think of a way to make the 3 pinnacle races kill each other. In this way, he could watch the fire from the other side of the river and reap the benefits from it. This matter was very simple to think about, but it was very difficult to do because the 3 pinnacle races were not fools. They had a common goal. Unless he had fallen, it was very difficult for the 3 pinnacle races to have internal strife. Soon, Longao had silently entered the first realm. However, he did not make a move this time. Again, the main purpose of this trip was to observe the situation and see if there was any way to deal with the 3 pinnacle races. As for the grudge between him and the number 1 Starry Sky Empire, there would be plenty of opportunities in the future. There was no need to rush and expose his identity. It was not worth it. Longao hid his aura. As long as he did not expose his identity, it would be very difficult for anyone to find him. P.S. I'm really sorry. I originally finished writing at 11:30, but there was no internet. Little 9 waited until now. I'll upload before going to sleep. Good night everyone. All 10 chapters have been delivered. Chapter 2587. The current First Universe Empire had a heavy atmosphere. Dark clouds gathered. Because the 3 pinnacle races teaming up to deal with Longao was a joke in itself. And the First Universe Empire, as the strongest pinnacle human empire, was even more of a joke. Not only that, the pinnacle race teaming up with the pinnacle human and dragon race was actually the pinnacle slaughter race that everyone cursed. Humiliation. It was a complete humiliation. Longao's trip to the primal chaos spring this time, even though his cultivation hadn't truly reached the pinnacle space undying level, he had already reached the true pinnacle space undying level. At this moment, Longao was full of confidence. As long as he didn't meet 2 or more pinnacle space undying level experts, in a one-on-one situation, he was confident he could kill them. Because of this, stepping into the First Universe Empire, Longao was prepared to deal with Bai Hua and the 3 Space Eagles, taking them down one by one. Originally, he wasn't willing to reveal his identity, fearing the alliance between the 3 pinnacle races would become more stable. But now, Longao had changed his mind. Instead of trying to incite internal strife between the 3 pinnacle races, he might as well divert everyone's attention to himself. That way, the 3 pinnacle races wouldn't even put their attention on the Empire. For the Empire, he had to do this. Wanting to kill any pinnacle space undying alone wasn't an easy task. The only way was to wait. Or create an opportunity. The First Universe Empire. Because of the alliance, Bai Jing wasn't even in the First Universe Empire. In other words, the current First Universe Empire only had Bai Hua and the 3 Space Eagles. However, to the First Universe Empire, having the 4 of them was more than enough. One had to know, the 4 of them were all-powerful pinnacle space undying level experts. Once they teamed up, unless it was a space ruler or half-step space ruler, no one would dare challenge them. It was complete nonsense. Bai Hua was the emperor of the First Universe Empire. He had a lot of things to deal with. As for the 3 Space Eagles, their situation was completely different from Bai Hua. When they had nothing to do, they would go into closed-door cultivation. In the entire hall, there was only Bai Hua. Within the empty hall, Bai Hua's expression was helpless. After so many years, he had never encountered such a situation. Longao could be said to be an anomaly that even the 3 pinnacle races teaming up couldn't handle. Sometimes, even he himself found it laughable. To deal with a small space undying, they actually had to make such a big fuss. The biggest reason. It was also because Longao didn't appear at all. If they fought head-on, any peak universe immortal could easily kill Longao, let alone the 3 pinnacle races. Regarding the heaven-defying starry sky divine artifact in Longao's possession, everyone was endlessly fearful. With this heaven-defying starry sky spirit artifact, Longao was in an invincible position. Sigh. He sighed deeply. I wonder why your majesty Bai Hua is sighing like this. Looking at the young man who suddenly appeared in front of him, Bai Hua immediately stood up from his seat. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. Because he had never imagined that Longao would appear at this moment. Wasn't this courting death? Seeing that Bai Hua didn't speak, Longao had already guessed the other party's thoughts. He sneered in his heart and said with a smile, Bai Hua, do you think I'm walking into a trap this time? Not to mention Bai Hua, perhaps no matter who it was, everyone would think so. As expected of the number 1 Starry Sky Emperor, and a peak universe immortal, Bai Hua quickly calmed down and said, Longao, since you know you're walking into a trap, why did you still come? He didn't attack immediately. Bai Hua was very curious. Since Longao knew he was no match for them, why did he still come? The more Longao acted like this, the more uncertain Bai Hua was. Speaking of which, it was simply laughable. With Bai Hua's strength and identity, he was actually so afraid of a person. If this was spread out, it would probably become the biggest joke. Bai Hua, I came this time to kill you. There wasn't the slightest surprise. Apart from this possibility, Bai Hua really couldn't think of any other reason why Longao would come for no reason. If the old ancestor was here, even if Longao was given 100,000 guts, he believed that Longao wouldn't dare to appear. Even so, did Longao really have the confidence to kill him? In Bai Hua's view, this was completely nonsense and impossible. Bai Hua laughed. Ha ha, ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. Bai Hua looked up to the sky and laughed crazily. He didn't release his aura at all, because in his view, if he could kill Longao alone, he knew better than anyone what it meant. Bai Jing wasn't in the number 1 Starry Sky Empire, but it didn't mean that the 3 Starry Sky Eagles weren't. Longao had guessed that Bai Hua wouldn't casually summon the 3 Space Eagles because of his conceit. If that was the case, it would indeed give him a chance, because it would be very difficult for him to defeat 4 people by himself. However, if it was a one-on-one battle, it would be a completely different concept. Longao didn't speak. He looked at Bai Hua, who was laughing crazily, and sneered. With a stride forward, he instantly disappeared from the spot. The speed of time teleportation was very fast. Bai Hua had already sensed that something was wrong with the aura. After Bai Hua stopped laughing, he immediately released his power. However, from the beginning to the end, he still thought that Longao was not his opponent at all. The difference in strength between a Starry Sky Immortal expert and a peak Starry Sky Immortal expert was too great. They weren't even on the same level. Not to mention 1 Starry Sky Immortal expert, even 8 or 10 Starry Sky Immortals wouldn't be a match for a peak Starry Sky Immortal expert. This was a huge gap that couldn't be made up with other things. Baihua really couldn't figure out what gave Longao such great courage. He actually dared to take the initiative to attack him. It was a complete provocation. If he didn't kill Longao, would he still have any face left? If Longao hid in a starry sky divine tool, he really wouldn't be able to do anything. However, if it was a head-on battle, Baihua wasn't worried at all. This was the confidence brought by strength. But what was the result? Time teleportation? Baihua was a little dumbfounded when he saw Longao appear in front of him in an instant. However, he still attacked without hesitation. This time, Longao obviously didn't dodge. Instead, he punched with both fists. Although he didn't use the Primal Chaos Axe, he fused the first axe of the Primal Chaos 9 axes, Hell Devouring, into his fists. In an instant, the two of them fiercely smashed together. With a loud bang, Longao took 3 steps back while Baihua took dozens of steps back. Chapter 2588. What kind of concept was that? Baihua was completely stunned, his face filled with disbelief. A Starry Sky Immortal defeated a peak Starry Sky Immortal in one move. Such a thing had never happened before. What happened just now? Baihua's face instantly turned gloomy. He felt even more embarrassed because as a peak Starry Sky Immortal, even if he hadn't reached the peak, he wasn't someone a Starry Sky Immortal could provoke. At this moment, Baihua finally knew why Longao dared to provoke him. Until now, Baihua still didn't know how Longao did it. Longao. These 2 words represented the complicated feelings in Baihua's heart. No wonder the 3 pinnacle races joined forces. No wonder the old ancestor didn't hesitate to join forces with the pinnacle massacre race. Now he finally understood why. Longao's talent and strength were too terrifying. If he could become a peak Starry Sky Immortal, then he wouldn't even have a chance to fight back. It was unbelievable just thinking about it. Baihua, do you think I can still kill you now? If it was before, Baihua wouldn't believe that a mere Starry Sky Immortal could threaten him. However, the truth was right in front of him, even if he didn't want to believe it. Longao, so what if you can threaten me? Now that the 3 pinnacle races have joined forces, do you think you can contend against them? Regarding the meaning of Baihua, Longao was very clear in his heart. If I cared about the 3 pinnacle races joining forces, I wouldn't have come today. This was the truth. If it was someone else, they would have surrendered or gone into hiding when facing the 3 pinnacle races joining forces. Only Longao didn't. Not only did he not back down, but he was ready to meet force with force. In the eyes of outsiders, Longao was an out-and-out madman who wasn't afraid of anything. Baihua sneered and said coldly, Longao, you don't have the strength to kill me. This time, Baihua took the initiative to attack. As a peak Starry Sky Immortal, Baihua's strength wasn't just for show. It seemed a little difficult to kill Baihua in a short time. Longao was very clear that he had to end the battle quickly. Otherwise, once the 3 eagles of Starry Sky arrived and interfered in this matter, it would be almost impossible to continue killing Baihua. Of course, Baihua knew that he was already destined to not be Longao's opponent with the lessons learned from the previous failure just now. Although he didn't want to believe it, the truth was the truth and couldn't be changed. His aura had already been released. At the same time, 3 powerful auras soared into the sky. As peak universe undyings, the 3 eagles arrived in a blink of an eye. Longao didn't continue attacking because things had already come to this, and even if he attacked with his full strength, it would be useless, so why waste time? Looks like I'm still not strong enough. Although I've reached the peak Starry Sky Immortal realm, it's still a bit difficult to insta-kill a peak Starry Sky Immortal realm. The combined power of 4 pinnacle universe undyings was terrifying. Looking at Longao in front of them, even the 3 Starry Sky Eagles were a little surprised. Under such circumstances, Longao still dared to come forward. He was simply walking right into their trap. Your Majesty, what is going on? I just lost. Ah! Hearing Baihua's words, the 3 Starry Sky Eagles were completely shocked. Of course, they knew the difference in strength between Longao and Baihua. They weren't on the same level at all. They didn't dare to imagine how Longao defeated Bai Hua. However, the three also knew that His Majesty didn't need to deceive them. Longao, aren't you a little too arrogant? One person might not be Longao's opponent, but that didn't mean that the four of them together wouldn't be Longao's opponent. Bai Hua, consider yourself lucky today, but I will be back. Want to leave? Just as the three starry sky eagles were about to attack, Longao disappeared without a trace. Although they knew the result, the four still looked helpless. According to the half-step starry sky rulers, Longao's starry sky god tool was heaven-defying. Only 3 or more half-step starry sky rulers working together could lock space and prevent Longao from entering the spatial starry sky god tool. Even half-step starry sky rulers couldn't do it, let alone peak starry sky immortals. Of course, the three of them knew that this was the real reason why Longao dared to provoke the Empire so openly. In the end, it was because Longao had this heaven-defying starry sky god tool. If we don't get rid of this person, he will be a great threat. Now I finally know why the 3 pinnacle races joined forces. Bai Hua didn't hide anything and told them what had just happened in full detail. The more they listened, the more dignified they became because the 3 starry sky eagles certainly knew what had just happened. Longao being able to repel Bai Hua with one move was a legend in itself. Your Majesty, Longao is only a starry sky immortal now, yet he can shake your strength. When his cultivation breaks through to the starry sky immortal realm, I'm afraid that even if the 4 of us join forces, we won't be a match for him. It wasn't just the 3 starry sky eagles. Even Bai Hua knew this. However, even the great ancestor and the others couldn't kill Longao, let alone them. As long as Longao's starry sky god tool was not destroyed, it was almost impossible for them to kill Longao. Even so, what could they do? They felt helpless and angry because the 4 of them didn't know what Longao's origin was. In just a few hundred years, he had actually grown to his current level. They regretted it very much. If they had known this would happen, they would have killed Longao no matter what happened back then. If that had happened, they wouldn't have been in trouble today. What should we do now? The 3 starry sky eagles knew very well that Bai Hua was still in charge of the #1 starry sky empire. Especially when Bai Jing wasn't around, they still had to ask. In your opinion, what should we do now? Sky Eagle thought for a moment and said, if nothing unexpected happens, Longao shouldn't leave this place for the time being. We shouldn't act blindly without thinking, lest Longao leaves. It's better to wait for Master to come back. When the time comes, even if Longao has 3 heads and 6 arms, he won't be able to leave the #1 starry sky empire alive. Bai Hua shrugged helplessly. He knew very well that things had already come to this, and this was the only way. Unless the great ancestor and the others personally took action, it would be a little difficult for the 4 of them to kill Longao. As for when Bai Jing would return after leaving, it was still unknown. Although the 3 pinnacle races had joined forces, each of them had their own ulterior motives. The alliance couldn't work together in a short time. This was without a doubt. Chapter 2589. Just as Bai Hua and the 3 starry sky eagles had guessed, Longao wouldn't leave the first starry sky empire casually. This time, they didn't succeed in killing Bai Hua because of the intervention of the 3 starry sky eagles. It was impossible to kill him in a second. The 2 sides were too close. As long as Bai Hua summoned them, the 3 starry sky eagles could appear at any time. If they waited until Bai Jing returned, things would become even more troublesome. The first plane. Countless starry sky empires stood, but among the many starry sky empires, the first starry sky empire was undoubtedly the most powerful. These starry sky empires were subordinate to the first starry sky empire. There was no need to talk about their loyalty. Otherwise, these starry sky empires wouldn't have stayed in the first plane. Longao casually found an empire and entered it. What should I do to lure out Bai Hua? 1 against 4, he definitely couldn't defeat all 4. In a one-on-one situation, Longao had full confidence in killing Bai Hua. However, it wouldn't be easy to lure out Bai Hua. He had to deal with Bai Hua before Bai Jing returned. Otherwise, with Bai Jing in charge, the difficulty would increase infinitely. What should he do? After finding a secluded place to rest, he began to think of various ways to lure out Bai Hua without anyone noticing. Bai Hua and the other three didn't leak this matter. After all, it was a bit too embarrassing. Since the three pinnacle races formed an alliance, not only Bai Jing, but even the other 8 half-step starry sky rulers had all left. In order to deal with Longao, everyone had put in a lot of effort. The matter of the 3 pinnacle dragon clans joining forces to deal with Longao had vaguely surpassed the matter of the white-robed girl and the primal chaos Great Peng. The momentum was unparalleled, and this topic was everywhere. If the 3 pinnacle dragon clans and Longao fought, whether the 3 pinnacle dragon clans or the madman Longao would emerge victorious was still unknown until the last moment. If it were anyone else, there was no doubt that the 3 pinnacle races would win. Except for Longao. Longao was a variable. If he was so easy to deal with, Longao wouldn't have lived until now. The other starry sky rulers didn't know about the agreement between Master Godly Mathematician and Yun Lu, but they already knew. All of them turned pale with fright. 3 rulers of the stars had appeared all of a sudden, which was a bit unbelievable. Most importantly, no one knew what the relationship between Yun Lu and Longao was. Yun Lu had once said that his daughter liked Longao. In other words, Longao was Yun Lu's son-in-law. It was still unknown whether this was true or not. It was still the same old saying. Right now, the starry sky rulers were all focused on refining the primal chaos tablets. As for dealing with Longao, no one was willing to do anything. Master God Diviner had wanted to give it a try, but as soon as he asked the Blood Devil, he was rejected. He chose to give up. Master God Diviner's only hope was that the 3 peak races would be able to suppress the Longao, and then reap the rewards. Master God Diviner, who had already deduced that Longao was a major threat, couldn't wait any longer. This was because he knew that if Longao didn't die, he would definitely be a big problem in the future. Cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. Tianwu Continent. In the Outer Sea, within the Crystal Palace. Father, although the 3 peak races have joined forces, they each have their own ulterior motives. If this continues, they won't be able to do anything. Yi Dugu was infuriated. He had thought that with the 3 peak races joining forces, dealing with Longao would be an easy matter. But the result? Yi Dugu had never imagined that the 3 peak races joining forces would be a pain in the ass. Each peak race had their own motives, and none of them were willing to go all out. Let alone the peak dragon race and the peak slaughterer race, even the peak human race wasn't united. Master God Diviner wasn't the slightest bit surprised. He had already guessed that this matter would develop to this point. It would be strange if the 3 peak races didn't have the slightest bit of selfish motives. It doesn't matter if the 3 peak races are united or not. As long as they can help me kill Longao, it's fine. This was the crux of the matter. Master God Diviner didn't care about the 3 peak races. Even if he took a step back, he wouldn't be afraid of a starry sky ruler. Even if Yun Lu was one of the 3 starry sky rulers, he still wouldn't dare to provoke him casually. Only Longao, after all, wasn't a random person. Father, with the 3 peak races joining forces, Longao will definitely be wary. Without locking space in advance, if Longao doesn't appear, we won't be able to do anything. How could Master God Diviner not know what his son was worried about? This matter was indeed a bit troublesome. If he said he wasn't worried, he would be lying. In the current situation, the one who wanted to kill Longao the most was none other than Master God Diviner. After all, Master God Diviner had already calculated that Longao would be a huge problem in the future. If he didn't kill Longao as soon as possible, who knew what would happen? With a slightly dignified expression, Master God Diviner thought for a moment and said, Dugu, you go on a trip on my behalf and inform all half-step starry sky rulers to work together to kill Longao. As for the grudges between them, we'll talk about it later. If they delay my work, suppress them. Okay, I'll go now. Yi Dugu, of course, knew what his father meant. At this point, not to mention his father, even he was a little wary. This was the first time he had seen his father like this. It seemed that Longao wasn't simple. After Yi Dugu left, Master God Diviner didn't stay idle. He immediately began to calculate. He wasn't calculating Longao's location because Longao was protected by a heaven-defying starry sky divine artifact. Even if his location was calculated, it would be difficult for anyone to kill Longao if he didn't do it himself. His top priority now was to calculate the location of Soaring Dragon Empire. Once he took control of Soaring Dragon Empire, Longao would be meat on the chopping board, waiting to be slaughtered. Master God Diviner was very curious because under normal circumstances, he could calculate the location of an empire in a matter of minutes. But now, because of Longao, it was very difficult for him to determine the location of Soaring Dragon Empire. The more this was the case, the more helpless and fearful Master God Diviner became. If he had known this would happen, he would have regretted it. One wrong step led to many wrong steps. Moreover, it was a bit too wrong. Yi Dugu came on behalf of Master God Diviner. The three peak empires, each with their own ulterior motives, suddenly united because every half-step starry sky ruler knew very well that if Master God Diviner personally took action, they wouldn't have the slightest chance to suppress them. Even if they didn't want to, they had to do so. Chapter 2590. Longao didn't stay any longer. Because he knew that with the alliance of the three pinnacle races, the 9 half-step universe rulers of the 9 great cosmic empires weren't in their respective empires. He couldn't kill Baihua, but that didn't mean he couldn't kill the others. He definitely couldn't kill the second cosmic empire. The second cosmic empire had 3 universe rulers. If he rashly went there, the result would be the same. It would be a waste of time. Without a doubt. Longao chose the third cosmic empire. Longao didn't dare to forget Gong Sun his betrayal. The third cosmic empire only had one peak universe immortal, and that was the emperor of the empire, Gong Sun Ao. It was still the same. If it was 1 against 2, 1 against 3, or even 1 against 4, Longao wouldn't be able to kill him. However, if it was 1 against 1, Longao was confident. If nothing unexpected happened, Gong Sun Ao would be dead for sure as long as he made a move. Longao's speed was extremely fast. He arrived at the third plane very quickly, just as Longao guessed. With the alliance of the 3 pinnacle races, the 9 half-step universe rulers of the 9 great cosmic empires had all left their respective empires. It was the best opportunity. Longao, don't go too far. Longao just stepped into the third plane and directly attacked the third cosmic empire. He chose to ignore it. Apart from Gong Sun He, Longao did not even put Gong Sun Ao in his eyes in the entire third starry sky empire. The two instantly exchanged blows. In a few minutes, Gong Sun Ao gradually couldn't resist. If this situation continued, the result could be imagined. Gong Sun Ao would definitely lose. There was no doubt about it. Ha ha ha, Gong Sun Ao, if you're willing to submit, I can spare your life. Submit? That was almost impossible. Gong Sun Ao was furious to the extreme. He couldn't believe it. Until now, Gong Sun Ao still hadn't reacted. Because under normal circumstances, a universe immortal shouldn't be a peak universe immortal. The difference in strength between the two was too great. Longao's strength wasn't just enough to shake him, he could even kill him. Is this true? Currently, Longao was only a starry sky immortal. If he waited until Longao's cultivation broke through the limit of the starry sky immortal realm, he would be able to insta-kill him. Just thinking about it made him shudder. Based on the current situation, it seemed that no one could suppress Longao other than the great ancestor. In the future, he couldn't always follow the old ancestor. Not only that. Looking at how strong Longao was right now, Gong Sun Ao's heart was filled with regret. However, there was nothing he could do about it. He simply could not make the decision for the old ancestor. With Longao's talent and potential, who knew how far Longao would develop in the future? All the powerhouses of the Third Starry Sky Empire quickly retreated, and no one dared to step forward to help. Longao was simply too powerful. It could be said that Longao could kill any god or Buddha that came his way. Such a Longao was simply too terrifying. Even Gongsun Ao was no match for Longao. One could only imagine who else in the Third Starry Sky Empire could suppress Longao other than the old ancestor Gongsun He. This time around, Gongsun Ao was doomed. Ha ha ha. Are you afraid? Gongsun Ao did not speak. Things had already come to this, and he did not know what else to say. Even though he could hold on for a while with his strength, how long could he last? 1 minute. Or 10 minutes. Boom. 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 Gongsun Ao was hit continuously. One had to admit that as a peak Starry Sky immortal, Gongsun Ao's strength and defense were extremely strong. To be able to take a few hits from Longao without dying, he was severely injured. If this were to continue, one could only imagine the outcome. Without any hesitation, Longao struck while the iron was hot. If he could not kill Gongsun Ao this time around, it would be extremely difficult for him to kill Gongsun Ao in the future once Gongsun He returned to the Third Starry Sky Empire. The Chaos Axe in his hands slammed out rapidly. The first of the Chaos 9 axes, Hell Devour, caused the space around him to turn into hell. Gongsun Ao had to fight against Longao while dodging the space cracks. After all, Gongsun Ao knew that even if he was a peak Starry Sky immortal, once he was devoured by the space cracks, there was only one way out for him: death. Retreating continuously, his face turned paler by the second. Ever since he became the emperor of the Third Starry Sky Empire and broke through to the peak Starry Sky immortal level, he had never encountered such a situation. Even if he met someone of the same level, he had never been in such a sorry state, let alone a Starry Sky immortal. Until now, Gongsun Ao still could not believe that this was real. Goodbye, Gongsun Ao. Longao held the Chaos Axe tightly with both hands. He had used all his strength in this attack, and it was also his most powerful attack. Now that Gongsun Ao was severely injured, there was no way he could resist this attack. Despair. Gongsun Ao knew the result and seemed to have given up on resisting. Since things had come to this, as long as Longao killed him and left, he would be thankful. However, Gongsun Ao was afraid that after Longao killed him, Longao would not be willing to leave and would start a massacre in the empire. If that happened, he would not be able to rest in peace. However, the outcome was no longer something he could control. Be it his own death or the empire's heavy losses, the only hope left was the Great Ancestor. Gongsun Ao pinned his last hope on the Great Ancestor because only the Great Ancestor could avenge them. Longao, you are too presumptuous. Just as Longao was about to kill Gongsun Ao, a furious roar came from afar. The one who came was none other than Gongsun He, the great ancestor of the Third Cosmic Empire. Ever since he left, Gongsun He had a bad premonition. He knew Longao very well. What others did not dare to do, Longao did not hesitate. Because of this, Gongsun He ignored the advice of others and rushed back. However, he was still one step too late. You dare. Seeing that Longao did not answer him and did not stop, Gongsun He became anxious. The Third Cosmic Empire only had one peak Starry Sky immortal. If Gongsun Ao died, it would be a great loss to the empire. Why wouldn't I dare? Hearing Longao's words, Gongsun He was furious. With his speed, he could arrive in seconds. Under normal circumstances, a peak Starry Sky immortal would definitely be able to save him. However, the person he met was Longao, a monstrous figure. Chapter 2591. Stop. Gongsun's son roared. Gongsun He never thought that Longao would actually dare to come here and even dare to kill Gongsun Ao in front of him. Provocation. A blatant provocation. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't have dared to do so. No matter what, he was a half-step Star Sky ruler. Apart from Star Sky rulers, he was invincible. Provoking him was suicidal. Seeing Longao defeat Gongsun Ao, Gongsun He was very curious. He didn't know how Longao could defeat Gongsun Ao. Gongsun Ao was a peak Star Sky immortal, while Longao was only a Star Sky immortal. The difference was huge. How did Longao do it? He couldn't figure it out. He really couldn't figure it out. He sneered. Longao, of course, knew that Gongsun He was very fast. If he had been a little slower, Gong's son he would have arrived. Since things had come to this, if he didn't succeed, he would despise himself. He could only succeed, not fail. The primal chaos axe in his hand smashed down without hesitation. Without using the primal chaos 9 axes, Longao relied on pure strength. If it had been the previous battle, this attack alone wouldn't have been able to kill Gongsun Ao. However, the situation was completely different now. Crack! Gongsun Ao didn't even have time to scream before he was smashed to death. His body fell, and his primordial spirit was released. Longao sneered. He knew better than anyone what a peak star sky immortal's primordial spirit meant. Grabbing Gongsun Ao's primordial spirit, Longao turned around and instantly returned to the primal chaos palace. The next second, Gongsun he had arrived, but it was too late. Gongsun Ao had been smashed to death by Longao, and his primordial spirit was under Longao's control. Gongsun Ao was killed right under his nose. For him, it was a great humiliation. Longao, I'm going to tear you to shreds. Anger, extreme anger. Endless anger turned into billowing murderous aura that directly covered the surrounding space. One could imagine the anger of a half-step starry sky ruler. But even so, Gongsun he couldn't lock onto Longao's position. If they could lock onto him, the 3 pinnacle races wouldn't have teamed up. After fuming for 3 days and 3 nights, Gongsun he chose to give up in the end. He knew very well that even if he continued, he would end up with nothing. Losing a pinnacle universe undying, the originally 3rd universe empire would probably drop to the 9th universe empire. If it weren't for him, Gongsun he was almost certain that the empire wouldn't even be able to enter the 9 Great Starry Sky Empire, let alone drop to the 9th Starry Sky Empire. He really couldn't afford to lose them. It was precisely because of this that Gongsun he was still unable to accept reality. Within the primal chaos palace, Longao was pleasantly surprised. Although killing Gongsun Ao had been a little dangerous, he had succeeded. As for Gongsun his anger, Longao didn't care at all and chose to ignore it. Ever since the previous incident, he and Gongsun he had become irreconcilable enemies. Therefore, no matter how angry Gongsun he was, the result would be the same. As for Gongsun Ao's primordial spirit, Longao didn't plan to refine it into a soul slave. The reason was simple. Even if he could refine Gongsun Ao's primordial spirit into primal chaos, which would be of great help to him, it wouldn't be as good as breaking through to the pinnacle universe undying realm. Devour. The moment Longao killed Gongsun Ao, he had already thought of how to deal with Gongsun Ao's primordial spirit. He needed too much energy to break through from the pinnacle universe undying realm, and it needed very pure energy. Hence, a pinnacle universe undying primordial spirit was undoubtedly the most suitable. There was no hesitation. Longao didn't even leave the primal chaos palace and started devouring Gongsun Ao's primordial spirit. He had to admit that as a pinnacle universe undying, Gongsun Ao's primordial spirit was very powerful. Even Longao couldn't control it after devouring it. However, he still managed to suppress Gongsun Ao's primordial spirit in the end. It was still unknown whether devouring primordial spirits would allow him to break through smoothly, because even Longao didn't have full confidence. Sitting quietly in the primal chaos palace, Longao began to refine it slowly after devouring it. The refinement had to be slow. Otherwise, even if he could fuse it in the end, there would be repercussions. Sigh. He sighed deeply. Normally, it wouldn't be a problem for him to refine it for tens of thousands of years, let alone a few days. However, the current situation was a little different. Time was too important for him. If he continued refining it at this speed, Longao estimated that it would take him at least 10 years, or even longer. Most importantly, Gongsun Ao's primordial spirit was filled with hatred towards him. It wouldn't be possible to erase this hatred in a short time. What should he do? He couldn't afford to waste any more time. Longao wasn't willing to give up at this time, because with the intervention of the godly mathematician and the pinnacle massacre race, Longao's desire for strength had reached the extreme. He couldn't wait to break through the pinnacle universe undying realm. Just as Longao was at his wit's end and didn't know what to do, the situation suddenly changed. The primal chaos 9-colored lotus that Longao had fused with released 9 different colored lights. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple, black, and white lights instantly enveloped Longao's primordial spirit. Before Longao could react, the 9 different colored lights completely erased the hatred in the primordial spirit and began to help Longao refine Gongsun Ao's primordial spirit. Sensing the situation in his body, Longao was pleasantly surprised. He never thought that the primal chaos 9-colored lotus would suddenly help him refine his primordial spirit. It would take a long time to erase the hatred in the primordial spirit, but with the help of the primal chaos 9-colored lotus, the time was shortened countless times. It was done in just a few seconds. The primal chaos 9-colored lotus refined the primordial spirit very quickly. It was a headache for Longao, but it was nothing for the primal chaos 9-colored lotus. In just a few minutes, the primal chaos 9-colored lotus refined the primordial spirit completely. He thought that after devouring and refining the primordial spirit, he would be able to successfully break through the starry sky immortal realm and reach the pinnacle universe undying realm. But what was the result? The whole primordial spirit had been refined and Longao had completely fused with it, but his cultivation base still hadn't broken through. He was extremely depressed. If he had known this, he would have refined the primordial spirit into a starry sky soul slave. Chapter 2592. He felt helpless. Letting out a deep sigh, Longao could be considered to be extremely depressed. He couldn't even break through after devouring a peak starry sky immortal primordial spirit. It was hard to imagine how much energy he would need to devour to break through. One peak starry sky immortal primordial spirit wasn't enough. After confirming that Gongsun he had left, Longao left the primal chaos palace. The news of Longao killing Gongsun Ao quickly spread throughout the entire vast starry sky. Everyone who received the news turned pale with fright. Was this true? Many didn't believe it. However, soon, news spread from the Third Starry Sky Empire that Gongsun Ao had indeed died. Unbelievable. Such a thing had never happened in the universe for countless years. Killing a peak starry sky immortal wasn't like destroying a cabbage. It was something that could be done casually. With Gongsun Ao's death, even though the Third Starry Sky Empire still had Gongsun He, they weren't as strong as before. After all, a peak starry sky immortal was something that even the 9 starry sky empires couldn't afford to lose. In the vast universe, the 6 peak races stood in great numbers. Among the peak humans, the 9 starry sky empires were the strongest. As soon as Gongsun Ao died, Bai Jing and the others gathered in the Third Starry Sky Empire. They were Bai Jing from the First Starry Sky Empire, Zhuge Ming from the Second Starry Sky Empire, Xia Feng from the Fourth Starry Sky Empire, Zhu Bolai from the Fifth Starry Sky Empire, Lu Mu from the Sixth Starry Sky Empire, Kong Shao from the Seventh Starry Sky Empire, Fang Buping from the Eighth Starry Sky Empire and Wei Bujing from the Ninth Starry Sky Empire. Other than the 8 peak half-step Starry Sky rulers, there was also Zhu Jian from the Massacre race and Yu Bubai from the Dragon race. A total of 10 half-step Starry Sky rulers. The Third Starry Sky Empire. Inside the Grand Hall. The others weren't qualified to enter the hall, not even Starry Sky Immortals. There were only 11 half-step Starry Sky rulers in the hall. Every half-step Starry Sky ruler had a helpless expression on their faces. However, they were overjoyed. Even though they had formed an alliance, Gongsun Ao's death was only good for them. Even if Gongsun Ao died, it wouldn't affect them at all. Killing Longao was more than enough if they joined forces. However, for the sake of harmony, no one was gloating. Even if they weren't afraid of Gongsun He, there was still the clairvoyant behind them. If the clairvoyant master was angered, the consequences would be unimaginable. It was still the same sentence. Even if Master God Diviner couldn't kill them, he could still crush them, or even send them into the cycle of reincarnation. No one wanted to see that happen. Brother Gongsun, my condolences. How could Gongsun He not know what everyone was thinking? However, Under such circumstances, it was not suitable for him to get angry because Gongsun he knew very well that it would not do him any good if he fell out with them now. Everyone, if Longao can kill Gongsun Ao today, he can kill your people tomorrow. Therefore, we must kill him as soon as possible to save ourselves some trouble. He felt very unbalanced in his heart. Gongsun he couldn't wait for Longao to wipe out the other Starry Sky empires, including the Pinnacle Dragon Clan and the Pinnacle Massacre Clan's Pinnacle Universe Immortals. Only then would his empire have a chance to rise again. No matter what, creating a Pinnacle Universe Undying wasn't an easy task. Otherwise, other than the First and Second Universe Empires, the other 7 empires only had one Pinnacle Universe Undying each. He couldn't express his bitterness. Gongsun he knew why Longao chose him and his empire. It was all for revenge. Longao almost died in his hands. Everyone was very clear about what Gongsun he was thinking. They all had their own ulterior motives. It was just that they didn't point it out. Everyone, not long ago, Longao came to our first universe empire. If it wasn't for the 3 space eagles, Bai Hua would have died. Bai Jing was still scared. Luckily, the 3 space eagles arrived in time. Otherwise, not just the 3rd universe empire, even the 1st universe empire would have lost a Pinnacle Universe Undying. Again, a Pinnacle Universe Undying was something the 9 great universe empires couldn't afford to lose. Gradually, everyone's expression became serious because they all knew that Longao was only a Pinnacle Universe Undying, yet he could kill a Pinnacle Universe Undying. In time, even they might not be able to suppress Longao. If that was the case, then things would be really troublesome. No matter what kind of ulterior motives everyone had in their hearts, things had already come to this. They all had a common goal, and that was to kill Longao. Things had already come to this. Even without the order of the divine mathematician, it was believed that everyone would not hesitate to kill Longao. Longao's talent and potential were too terrifying, especially now that things had reached this stage. Everyone was more and more afraid because no one knew how far Longao would grow in the future. Not to mention the others, just the Oracle was so afraid of Longao. One could imagine what kind of existence Longao was. However, everyone knew that Longao possessed a heaven-defying Starry Sky Divine tool. If they couldn't destroy this heaven-defying Starry Sky Divine tool, then there was no doubt that even the godly mathematician couldn't locate Longao's position, let alone them. Everyone, tell me, what should we do? A total of 11 half-step Starry Sky rulers sat together to discuss how to deal with the Starry Sky Undying. If this matter spread out, they would be laughed at by the whole world. However, since things had already come to this, they couldn't care less. As long as they could kill Longao smoothly, it didn't matter even if they became a joke. In the final analysis, they were still afraid of Longao. If it had been another Starry Sky Undying, not to mention 11 Starry Sky rulers, even one Starry Sky ruler wouldn't have appeared. This was the gap between them. According to the current situation, we can only design a trap and see how to lure Longao into it. Otherwise, as long as we can't lock the surrounding space, it will be very difficult to locate Longao. If Longao hides in the space god weapon, then we won't even have a chance. Hearing Zhu Dian's words, everyone nodded in agreement. At this time, Bai Jing took over and said, designing a trap is very simple. The difficult part is how we can successfully lure Longao into it. Longao is not a fool. He won't be fooled so easily. Chapter 2593. This was the crux of the matter. If Longao dared to fight them head-on, any one of them could easily kill Longao. But what happened? Longao didn't fight them head-on at all. As long as he grasped the opportunity, he would be a threat to them. Everyone's expression turned solemn. Whether it was because of the Oracle's order or because of them, Longao had to die. There was no doubt about it. Swoosh. A corpse flew over, giving everyone a fright. This was the 3rd Cosmic Empire. Gongsun he stood up and waved his hand. The corpse in front of him froze in mid-air. They were curious. Why would a corpse appear out of nowhere? Everyone's expression turned ugly. They seemed to have guessed something, but they didn't want to believe it. Me. The corpse snorted. At this moment, the corpse suddenly said, "A bunch of shameless people. Come to Yellow Wasp Bridge if you dare. I, Longao, will be waiting for you there." Ha ha ha, with a burst of laughter, the corpse stopped breathing. What did this mean? If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, no one would have believed it. 11 half-step universe rulers were gathered here, and Longao didn't hide at all. Instead, he provoked them. He was arrogant to the extreme. So what if he could kill a peak universe immortal? There was a huge difference in strength between a peak universe immortal and a half-step universe ruler. They weren't on the same level. "Everyone, what do you think of this?" Zhuge Ming thought for a moment and said, "Longao is obviously setting a trap for us. If we go rashly, I'm afraid." Zhuge Ming didn't continue to speak, but the meaning of his words was very clear. He was afraid that Longao would play dirty tricks. The scene of Longao killing Gongsun Ao was still vivid in their minds. Something that should have been impossible had happened. If they were unlucky and fell into Longao's trap, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. If Zhuge Ming dared to say this in normal times, he would definitely be despised by others. But now, not a single person mocked him. This was because everyone present knew what this meant. One wrong step led to many wrong steps. Therefore, they couldn't afford to take a wrong step. Otherwise, even if they were half-step starry sky rulers, they would still fall into eternal damnation. How could he not go? He sighed helplessly. Lu Mu said very self-deprecatingly, "The 11 of us are all half-step universe dominators. We are the most powerful beings in the vast universe." No one said anything. Lu Mu continued to laugh at himself and said, "A mere Longao dares to provoke the 11 of us. This is a great humiliation. Regardless of whether you dare to go or not, I, Lu Mu, will definitely go." Lu Mu would be lying if he said he wasn't worried. However, as a half-step starry sky ruler, it would be too shameful for him to shrink back. He wouldn't even be able to get past him. Lu Mu did not continue to stay in the hall. He took a step forward and disappeared without a trace. Everyone looked at each other. For a moment, no one knew what to say. This was indeed a little shameful, 10,000 times more shameful than any other time. Longao had already issued a challenge. What would it mean if the 10 of them did not accept? "What do you think?" Bai Jing gritted her teeth and said, "Even if Longao set a trap, the 11 of us together have nothing to fear." Bai Jing, Zhuge Ming, and the others walked out of the hall and headed for Yellow Wasp Bridge. When one person left, the others followed. No one wanted to lose face at this time. In a short while, the 11 half-step universe dominators all walked out in a line and headed for Yellow Wasp Bridge. Gang Mu, Yi Chong, and Jin Chen, the 3 peak starry sky immortals, had been searching for Longao's whereabouts. They would not give up until they killed Longao. But the result? For so long, no matter how the 3 of them searched, they were unable to lock onto Longao's position. However, at this time, the 3 of them suddenly heard rumors about Longao. Longao had single-handedly killed his way into the 3rd Starry Sky Empire and single-handedly killed its emperor, Gongsun Ao, who was also a peak Starry Sky immortal. What did this mean? Although there was definitely some exaggeration, the fact that Longao killed Gongsun Ao was basically confirmed. This was an undeniable fact. The 3 of them were shocked because they knew that any one of them could easily deal with Longao. They did not expect that Longao would be able to kill Gongsun Ao in such a short time. No matter what, Gongsun Ao's strength was comparable to theirs. Didn't this mean that if Longao could kill Gongsun Ao, he could kill them too? What do you two think? Forget it. The conflict between us and Longao hasn't reached the point where one of us has to die. As long as he doesn't come looking for us, why should we look for trouble? From now on, I'll withdraw. Gang Mu was the first to withdraw. In the end, he was afraid of death because Longao's cultivation speed and strength were too terrifying. Chasing after Longao at this time was simply suicidal. Seeing that Gang Mu had chosen to withdraw, the other 2 peak starry sky immortals did not continue. In the face of death, everyone was afraid of death. Not even starry sky rulers could do this, let alone them. A wise man submits to circumstances. There was nothing to be ashamed of. Then what should we do now? If the two of you don't mind, from now on, the three of us can travel together and cultivate together. I hope that one day, we can break through the peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm and reach the supreme half-step Starry Sky Ruler Realm. That's our intention. After hearing the rumors about Longao's strength, the three of them did not continue to pursue Longao. Instead, they began to cultivate together, hoping to break through as soon as possible. The three of them had chosen to withdraw. As for whether Longao would also choose to give up, that was still unknown. However, Longao did not have the time to deal with the three of them. He was fully focused on the three pinnacle races. The news of Longao killing Gongsun Ao still shocked the entire vast starry sky. It lingered for a long time, and there was a lot of discussion everywhere. Longao's sudden rise and counterattack made many people think highly of Longao, because what was impossible for others became possible for Longao. Chapter 2594. Hornet Ridge. As the most famous place in the Third Realm, it was impossible for the 11 half-step space rulers to not know about it. Hornet Ridge was not located in the Third Realm, but in a gap in the Third Realm. The entire Hornet Ridge was boundless. At a glance, it looked like a lion crouching there roaring, ready to devour at any time. The 11 appeared instantly. In just a few minutes, countless people around them had disappeared without a trace. Apart from the 11 of them, there was no one else around. This time, we must kill Longao. Cut the weeds and pull out the roots to prevent future trouble. Although the 11 of them made a solemn vow, they did not have the slightest confidence in their hearts. Longao's sky-defying space artifact was too powerful. If Longao insisted on hiding in the artifact, there was nothing they could do. Killing Longao depended on luck. They entered in a single file. Since they were already here, the 11 of them did not flinch. The biggest reason why Hornet Ridge was famous in the Third Cosmic Empire was because of a type of space spirit beast. This type of space spirit beast was called Hornet. It did not move alone and lived in groups. Individually, the yellow wasps were too weak. However, if they attacked in groups, even a Star Sky Immortal wouldn't dare to provoke the yellow wasps casually. In the entire vast universe, only Hornet Ridge had this type of space spirit beast. Therefore, it was famous in the Third Cosmic Empire. Of course, the 11 of them were not afraid of the Hornet race, but they did not want to provoke them because there were too many of them. Unless they destroyed the entire Hornet Ridge, they would not be able to eliminate them. Why did Longao choose Hornet Ridge? The reason was simple. Hornet Ridge was the symbol of the Third Cosmic Empire. Even if others wanted to destroy it, Gongsun he would not be willing. The biggest reason was that no matter who entered Hornet Ridge, they would not be able to use their primordial spirit to cover the entire ridge. For Longao, this was a huge advantage. How could the 11 of them not know this? If we destroy Hornet Ridge completely, Longao will have nowhere to hide. If it was before, Gongsun he would not have agreed. But now, the situation was completely different. After Longao killed Gongsun Ao, Gongsun he was furious to the extreme. As long as he could kill Longao, sacrificing Yellow Wasp Ridge was nothing. And the result? Gongsun he smiled helplessly and said, "Everyone, the situation in Wasp Ridge is different from other planes." As if they could understand the meaning behind Longao's words, the others finally understood why Longao had chosen this place. In other words, the Yellow Wasp Ridge was different from other planes. It could not be destroyed at will. Even a half-step Starry Sky ruler could not do so, let alone other Starry Sky cultivators. Forget it. Since that's the case, let's split up. No one objected. In any case, since their primordial spirits could not cover the entire Yellow Wasp Ridge, they could only choose to move separately. If they moved together, who knew how long it would take? The 11 of them chose different directions and left quickly. In just a short while, the 11 of them had disappeared without a trace. Was Longao at Yellow Wasp Ridge? Longao was not at Yellow Wasp Ridge at all. Instead, he had seen the 11 of them enter Yellow Wasp Ridge with his own eyes. As for whether he could successfully kill the 11 of them this time, it would depend on luck. It took Longao 10 days to set up several super formations in Yellow Wasp Ridge, using the Yellow Wasp tribe as the foundation. Without the slightest hesitation. It took less than an hour for the 11 of them to enter Yellow Wasp Ridge, but Longao had already activated all the formations. The 11 of them, who were locking onto Longao's position, suddenly felt a surge of aura around them. As half-step Starry Sky rulers, the 11 of them knew very well what the surge of aura around them meant. Formations. They had almost forgotten that Longao was also a powerful formation master. Under normal circumstances, it was basically impossible for a Starry Sky cultivator to develop on both the path of formations and the path of martial arts. The 11 of them did not put Longao's formations in their eyes at all. Because with Longao's current level of formations, it was almost impossible for him to kill a peak Starry Sky immortal, but it was almost impossible for him to deal with the 11 of them. As soon as an expert made a move, one would know whether or not he was a master. Soon. The 11 of them sensed at the same time that the formations in Yellow Wasp Ridge were not ordinary. Not daring to be the slightest bit careless, the 11 of them began to gather as quickly as possible. This way, no matter what danger they encountered, they could easily resist it. Gong Sun, he sneered and said mockingly, "You want to rely on formations to deal with us? Dream on." Not only Gong Sun but even the others could not understand. Longao was not a fool. He clearly knew that they could not use formations to kill them, so why did he insist on doing so? Could it be that Longao had nothing better to do? Soon, the 11 of them understood Longao's true intentions. Although they did not know how Longao mobilized the wasp race, the fact was right in front of them. Even if they were not afraid of the wasp race, they were still a problem. Left with no choice, the 11 of them could only attack the wasp race. Longao did not enter Yellow Wasp Ridge. Instead, he headed towards the Fourth Cosmic Empire at his fastest speed. He knew that in this situation, he had to buy as much time as he could. In the vast universe, there were 6 pinnacle races. Among them, the human race had 9 great cosmic empires. Apart from the first empire, which had 3 or 4 peak Starry Sky immortals, and the second empire, which had 3 peak Starry Sky immortals, the rest of the empires, from the 3rd to the 9th, only had 1 peak Starry Sky immortal. Now that Gong Sun Ao of the 3rd Cosmic Empire had fallen, Longao's next goal was to eliminate all the peak Starry Sky immortals from the 4th to the 9th as quickly as possible. This was Longao's true goal. Even if he lured the 11 of them to Yellow Wasp Ridge, with his current strength, he could not kill 11 half-step Starry Sky dominators. Instead of wasting time, it was better to use it in a way that was beneficial to him. Peak Starry Sky immortals were existences that the 9 great cosmic empires could not afford to lose. If he could kill as many as he could, it would be a good thing. Even if the 11 of them were killed, they would never have imagined that Longao's move to lure the tiger away from the mountain would be so vicious. His true target was not the 11 of them, but the peak Starry Sky immortals of the other cosmic empires. Chapter 2595. In a one-on-one situation, Longao wasn't afraid of any peak Starry Sky immortal. Combined with many sure-kill moves, he could kill a peak Starry Sky immortal in the shortest time possible. The 4th plane. Longao rushed to the 4th Starry Sky Empire as fast as he could and started attacking the peak Starry Sky immortal. In this situation, time was of the essence. Because Longao didn't know how long the 11 half-step Starry Sky rulers would be trapped. If they realized something was wrong and left Yellow Wasp Ridge, he would lose this opportunity. He was very anxious. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. Inside Yellow Wasp Ridge, the 11 half-step Starry Sky rulers had already defeated the Yellow Wasp race, but they still didn't leave Yellow Wasp Ridge. The reason was simple. This time, they finally locked onto Longao's position. If they couldn't kill Longao, who knew what would happen if he went into hiding? But gradually, everyone began to realize that something was amiss. The 3rd day. Dusk slowly fell. The 11 had already realized something was wrong because Longao still hadn't shown up. After leaving Yellow Wasp Ridge, their faces were gloomy. Intuition told them that something was wrong, but they couldn't tell what it was. Everyone, what should we do now? The 11 were almost certain that Longao was most likely not in Yellow Wasp Ridge because no one would take the risk to enter. Longao wasn't a fool. It was like throwing an egg against a rock if he wanted to fight against 11 of them alone. According to my guess, if I'm not mistaken, not only is Longao not in Yellow Wasp Ridge, he has even fled far away. Even though they knew Longao wasn't here, the 11 still came without hesitation, mainly because they were unwilling to give up. Longao's talent and strength were there for all to see. If they didn't get rid of him as soon as possible, who knew how far Longao would grow in the future? Just as the 11 were about to leave, suddenly, several figures came from the 4th and 9th Starry Sky Empires and knelt down in front of the 11, their bodies trembling slightly. What's going on? For some reason, Xiafeng and the others had a bad feeling when they saw the reaction of the people from their respective empires. Could it be? Reporting, it was the same report. In just a few seconds, all the half-step sovereigns, including Bai Jing and Zhu Dian, had a gloomy look on their faces. They already knew why Longao wasn't at Yellow Wasp Ridge. To lure the tiger away from the mountain. Longao's original intention wasn't them, but rather all the peak universe undyings from the 4th to 9th cosmic empires. In the vast starry sky, there were a total of 9 great starry sky empires. Every universe empire had a pinnacle universe undying in charge. Other than the first universe empire having 4 peak universe undyings and the second universe empire having 3 peak universe undyings, the other empires only had 1. But now, other than the first and second universe empires, the rest of the universe empires had all had their peak universe undyings killed by Longao. What kind of concept was that? Anger. Endless anger turned into rumbling killing intent that shot up to the heavens. Xiafeng and the others were furious because Longao's actions were a clear provocation. If they didn't kill Longao, they wouldn't have any face left. The news of Longao killing the pinnacle universe undyings instantly spread throughout the vast space. Everyone who knew about this matter turned pale with fright because Longao's actions were unprecedented. Not to mention Starry Sky Immortal Realm experts, even a half-step Starry Sky Dominator wouldn't dare to do this. What was Longao trying to do? Under normal circumstances, the 9 empires should be thanking the heavens for not finding trouble with Longao. But now, not only did Longao not hide, he even took the initiative to attack, killing all the peak universe undyings from the 4th to 9th universe empires. If it were anyone else, it wouldn't matter, even if it was a universe undyings. Only the peak universe undyings. Peak universe undyings were existences that even the 9 universe empires couldn't afford to lose. After all, the 4th to 9th universe empires only had 1 peak universe undyings. The news of Longao killing the pinnacle universe undyings shook the entire universe. The Martial Heaven continent. In the outer sea, within the Crystal Palace, 11 half-step sovereigns stood respectfully, not daring to say a word. Not only had they failed to complete the mission given to them by the God Diviner, but they had also suffered heavy losses. This was probably the greatest loss they had suffered in countless years. The God Diviner's expression was indifferent, and there wasn't the slightest hint of anger. But that was also why they were afraid. If the God Diviner lost his mind, even if the 11 of them worked together, they wouldn't be a match for him. What was the God Diviner thinking? Father, what should we do now? Yi Dugu was also shocked. He had never imagined that Longao, who was only a Starry Sky Immortal, would be able to kill peak universe undyings, and not just 1. If the 11 of them hadn't said it themselves, Yi Dugu wouldn't have believed it. The God Diviner smiled. As expected, my calculations were wrong. It seems that it won't be long before Longao becomes a threat to you. The 11 of them still didn't say anything. They naturally knew what the God Diviner meant. It was also because of this that they couldn't wait to kill Longao. Longao's cultivation speed was too fast, and no one knew how strong Longao would become in the future. The 11 of them had ugly expressions, especially Gongsun He, Xiafeng, and the others. After all, Longao had dealt with them, while the first and second Starry Sky empires hadn't suffered any losses. This matter is not your fault. Longao's variables are too big. Even I don't have the slightest way to deal with him. However, I have already thought of an excellent way to make Longao walk right into the trap. Ah! Hearing the words of the godly mathematician, whether it was the 11 people or Yi Dugu, all of them were happy. Yi Dugu asked impatiently, "Father, I don't know what method you have thought of. How should we deal with Longao?" "Genling Mountain." "Genling Mountain? Where is that place?" Everyone was very curious. They didn't know where this Genling Mountain was, but they knew that since the God Diviner was so confident, there shouldn't be any accidents. They just didn't know how the God Diviner was going to deal with Longao. That was what they were most concerned about. Chapter 2596. Do you know the Genling Star Dominator? The 11 of them nodded in unison. Obviously, they were well aware of the Genling Star Dominator that Master God Diviner had mentioned. There were a total of 12 astral rulers in the vast universe. They were the dominator of the 5-element starry sky, the dominator of the devouring starry sky, the dominator of the lightning starry sky, the dominator of the space starry sky, the dominator of the time starry sky, the dominator of the destruction starry sky, the dominator of the reincarnation starry sky, the dominator of the slaughter starry sky, the dominator of the divination starry sky, the dominator of the sword intent starry sky, the dominator of the immortal tyrant body starry sky, and the dominator of the darkness starry sky. Could it be that Genling Mountain had something to do with the Genling Star Dominator? You guessed right. Genling Mountain is where Xiling cultivates. What did that mean? The 11 of them were a little confused because they didn't know what the Genling Mountain was for. Their target was Longao, not Genling Star Dominator. What did the divine mathematician mean? How could Master God Diviner not know what the 11 of them were thinking? Ever since I found out about the relationship between Xiling and Longao, I've been trying to calculate the location of Genling Mountain. After so many years, I've finally figured it out. No one spoke. Everyone just listened quietly. Xiling has a sister called Bai Ling. She's a peak space undying. I've already made a trip to Genling Mountain and discovered that Xiling's Genling origin is no longer there. If I'm not wrong, it should have been taken away by Xiling. No one said anything. Even now, no one knew what Master God Diviner was talking about. Although Xiling's original Genling isn't there, I discovered that Bai Ling's original Genling was left there. No one was a fool, and they instantly understood what Master Godly Mathematician meant. Let's go. Master God Diviner, Yi Dugu, and 11 half-step star rulers left the Outer Sea Crystal Palace and headed for the Genling Mountains. Other than Xiling, Bai Ling, and the marvelous mathematician, no one else knew the location of Genling Mountain. Even Longao didn't know. The location of Genling Mountain was very well hidden. Due to Xiling's deliberate planning, no one was able to discover the location of Genling Mountain from beginning to end. Soaring Dragon Realm. Bai Ling, who was in closed-door cultivation, suddenly had a bad premonition. His heart was troubled. He didn't know what was going on. What was going on? If it were anything else, Bai Ling would have tolerated it. However, this was the first time something like this had happened. At Xiling's place. Bai Ling, what's wrong? Xiling was very curious because Bai Ling's face was very pale. It seemed like something had happened. Sister, it's me. Looking at his sister who wanted to speak but stopped, Xiling was very anxious. Bai Ling, what happened? Hurry up and tell me. Seeing that her elder sister was getting more and more anxious, Bai Ling sighed deeply and told her everything that had happened to her in detail. Xiling certainly knew what Bai Ling meant. His face was very solemn. When one's cultivation reached their level, their intuition was very accurate under normal circumstances. Bai Ling, what do you think happened? Sister, Genling Mountain. Genling Mountain? Hearing his sister mention Genling Mountain, Xiling instantly knew what had happened. He didn't dare to hesitate and immediately left the soaring dragon realm with Bai Ling. He didn't summon anyone. Time was of the essence. They couldn't waste any time. Otherwise, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. It wasn't that Bai Ling didn't want to merge with her origin Genling. Ever since she was seriously injured, Bai Ling left her origin Genling in Genling Mountain, hoping that her origin Genling could recover as soon as possible. That way, her cultivation might be able to reach a higher level. But what happened? If something really happened to the origin Genling, she would be completely finished. The two of them couldn't figure out who could pinpoint the location of Genling Mountain. In the vast starry sky, it seemed that there were only a few people who could pinpoint the location of Genling Mountain. Could it be the Oracle? Genling Mountain. Genling Mountain was not in any plain. It was a giant peak that reached the sky, standing alone in the vast starry sky. However, Xiling had set up an energy shield around Genling Mountain. Ordinary people couldn't break it at all. Other starry sky cultivators couldn't break the energy shield, but that didn't mean that the starry sky rulers couldn't. However, unless it was absolutely necessary, no starry sky ruler would casually provoke Xiling. After all, Xiling was also a starry sky ruler. Even if he hadn't refined the Chaos Stone tablet yet, it didn't mean that he wouldn't be able to do so in the future. The Oracle didn't care at all. Because of Longao, he and Xiling wouldn't have a good relationship. Rather than that, it didn't matter if he had a falling out with Xiling or not. He didn't care about Xiling. Right now, the clairvoyant master only cared about Longao's life and death. As long as he could successfully kill Longao and take everything from Longao's hands, he did not care even if he had to offend Purple Spirit. By the time Xiling and Bai Ling arrived at Genling Mountain, their faces were as dark as they could get. As soon as they entered Genling Mountain, they sensed that the energy shield around them had been tampered with. There was no doubt that Bai Ling's senses were correct. What was going on? Big sister, do you think it was the Oracle and his people? Bai Ling was very anxious. She knew very well that if the Oracle really locked onto her origin Genling, it wouldn't be just her. The Oracle's real target wouldn't be her, but the man behind her, Longao. No matter what happened, she didn't want anything to happen to Longao. Xiling must have thought of the same thing as Bai Ling, but there was nothing she could do. Even now, she didn't know if something had happened to her origin Genling. Don't worry, Yang Qi said. We've sealed your sword essence spirit together. Even if Master God Diviner wants to lock onto your sword essence spirit, it won't be easy. Are you really not worried? It would be a lie to say that she wasn't worried. Xiling knew very well that once her sister's origin Genling was locked onto, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, she couldn't be the first to panic. Her sister was already extremely anxious. If she panicked, her sister would definitely panic. Thinking of this, Xiling became even more worried. Xiling, since you're here, why don't you show yourself? Violet Spirit was actually guessing, because she didn't know whether this was the work of the Oracle or not. If it was really the Oracle, then this matter would be very troublesome, because among the 12 of them, only the Oracle was the starry sky ruler. If it was anyone else, then she wouldn't be so worried. Chapter 2597. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Along with the laughter, the godly mathematician and the others appeared. Xiling, long time no see. Xiling's face was dark. What the godly mathematician was doing was a clear provocation to him. Right now, all pretenses of cordiality were gone. Ch, godly mathematician, what do you mean by this? Looking at the dark face of Xiling, the godly mathematician was not bothered at all. Since he dared to do this, he must have thought of the consequences. Not to mention that Xiling had yet to regain his powers as a ruler of the stars. Even if Xiling were to refine the Chaos Stone tablet, the godly mathematician would not be afraid. Xiling, don't tell me you don't know my intentions. How could Xiling not know? Xiling naturally knew that the godly mathematician was not doing this for her and Bai Ling. His real target was Longao. He was surprised. Under normal circumstances, the godly mathematician would not offend another ruler of the stars for the sake of a single Longao. That did not make sense. Seemed like the godly mathematician had high hopes for Longao. But thinking about it, it made sense. Longao's innate potential and cultivation speed were there for all to see. especially since the godly mathematician had already calculated that Longao was a variable in his plans. It would be a lie to say that he was not afraid. Xiling looked at the half-step rulers around the godly mathematician and laughed coldly. I have no way of taking you guys down right now. Once I refine the Chaos Stone Tablet, you guys will be taken down. The 11 rulers of the stars did not say anything. They were wary of Xiling. No matter what, Xiling was still the Genling ruler of the stars. Once he regained his peak powers, it would not be difficult for him to take them down. On one side, it was the godly mathematician. On the other, it was Xiling. If both of them were rulers of the stars, it would definitely be difficult for them to make a decision. But the situation right now was different. The godly mathematician's strength did not need to be mentioned. But Xiling was not the same. As long as one was not a fool, anyone would choose him. Since they had already made their choice, it was too late for regrets. As for Yi Dugu, he did not care about Xiling's threat at all. Not to mention that he had a powerful father, but he had already devoured the primal Chaos Stone Tablet. Once he refined the primal Chaos Stone Tablet and became the ruler of space, he wouldn't need to fear Xiling. Xiling, as long as you help me deal with Longao, I won't touch Bai Ling's origin Genling. What do you think? Xiling's cold snort had already revealed too much. It was just a joke. Even if he was willing, his sister wouldn't be willing. Since you're not willing, don't blame me for being impolite. The Genling master wasn't afraid of Xiling and the others at all because of his strength. If it weren't for the fact that he didn't want to take the risk, he would have only hoped to successfully obtain the origin Genling so that he could deal with Longao. How could Violet Spirit not know what Master God Diviner meant? That was why. Xiling's heart calmed down because he was almost certain that the clairvoyant master hadn't yet obtained his sister's Genling origin. Otherwise, he would have left immediately instead of wasting time with Xiling. Neither of them made a move, each with his own ulterior motives. However, the clairvoyant master was guarding one of the entrances. It was almost impossible for Xiling and Bai Ling to enter. Enter Genling Mountain and find Bai Ling's origin Genling. Yes. Yi Dugu led 11 half-step rulers into Genling Mountain in a single file to search for the so-called origin Genling. Xiling didn't move, but Bai Ling was extremely anxious. Bai Ling was anxious not because of her origin Genling, but because she knew very well that if the clairvoyant master and the others took control of her origin Genling, Brother Long would be in a very passive position. Who knew what would happen? Sister. She spoke with her spiritual sense. Sister, don't be impatient. The clairvoyant master hasn't gone to find the origin Genling himself because he wants to stop us. The situation is very dangerous now. The only way is to find Longao. No, absolutely not. Bai Ling was shocked. The clairvoyant master was doing this to deal with Brother Long. If they really did as the clairvoyant master wished and found Brother Long would definitely be in danger. Things would become very troublesome then. She would rather die than put Brother Long in danger for the sake of her origin Genling. How could Xiling not know what Bai Ling meant? However, the situation had already reached this point. No one could solve it except for Longao. If Longao found out that something happened to his sister because of him, he would definitely regret it. Not only that, but Xiling also didn't want anything to happen to his sister. In this vast starry sky, he didn't seem to have any relatives except for his sister. Let's go. Things had already reached this point. Bai Ling didn't have the slightest solution. As long as the clairvoyant master didn't leave this place, they wouldn't be able to take half a step inside. Watching the two leave, the clairvoyant master still didn't step into the Genling Mountain to search for the origin Genling. This was because he didn't know when Xiling and Bai Ling would return. If he went in and the two of them took the opportunity to enter, who knew what would happen? Xiling and Bai Ling's expressions were very serious. This was because they didn't know where Longao was now. In her heart, Bai Ling didn't want Brother Longao to come. After all, the clairvoyant master was very strong. If Longao came rashly, she would be very worried. However, after Xiling's persuasion, Bai Ling gradually understood the reason. If they couldn't take back the origin Genling, Brother Long would find out about it sooner or later. Then, it would be even more troublesome. It was better to think of a way to take back the origin genling before the clairvoyant master got his hands on it. Sister, Brother Long killed the peak starry sky immortals of the 9 great starry sky empires. Under normal circumstances, Brother Long should have left the 9 great starry sky empires. Xiling didn't think so. She knew Longao's character very well. If it were anyone else, they would have left the 9 great starry sky empires after killing the peak starry sky immortals. Only Longao didn't succeed in killing the peak starry sky immortals of the 1st and 2nd starry sky empires even after killing the peak starry sky immortals of the 3rd to 9th starry sky empires. Bai Ling, I'm almost certain that Longao is either in the 1st or 2nd starry sky empires. There's no doubt about it. Bai Ling was very curious, but since her sister had said so, she didn't say anything else. As for whether Brother Long was in the 1st or 2nd starry sky empires, it was still unknown. Chapter 2598. Xiling and Bai Ling first went to the 2nd starry sky empire. However, Longao was not in the 2nd starry sky empire at all. The two did not hesitate and immediately went to the 1st starry sky empire. Not sure if it was telepathy, the two found Longao in just one day. They were very curious. Longao did not know why Xiling and Bai Ling were looking for him so anxiously. However, they told him directly that the two must have something urgent. Otherwise, they would not be in such a hurry. What was it? He had a bad feeling in his heart. Because under normal circumstances, as long as it was not a huge matter, he believed that Xiling and Bai Ling would not leave the soaring dragon realm. What happened? Without waiting for Bai Ling to say anything, Xiling had already told him the whole story. He was very calm. Longao, don't act rashly. The reason why the clairvoyant master guarded the Genling mountain and took his sister's origin Genling was to deal with you. If you act rashly, you will fall into his trap. How could Longao not know what Xiling meant? Are you sure the clairvoyant master has not taken the origin Genling? I don't think so. Longao did not dare to be careless. He knew very well what it meant if Bai Ling's origin Genling was controlled by the clairvoyant master. The consequences would be unimaginable. What a despicable and shameless clairvoyant master. Originally, he had already smoothly killed all the pinnacle universe undyings from the 3rd and 9th universe empires, but Longao didn't choose to give up. Instead, he stayed in the 1st and 2nd universe empires, preparing to continue killing the pinnacle universe undyings from the 1st and 2nd universe empires. However, killing the peak starry sky immortals of the 1st and 2nd starry sky empire was nothing compared to Bai Ling's origin Genling. Brother Long, please don't take the risk. I'd rather. Before Bai Ling could speak, Longao had already interrupted her and said, I know what to do. You follow your sister back to the soaring dragon empire first, leave the rest to me. Brother Long, don't worry about me. With the protection of the primal chaos palace, nothing will happen to me. It would be strange if he wasn't worried. Bai Ling was well aware of what Master God Diviner represented. Furthermore, he was trying to take her essence Genling in order to deal with Longao. Who knew what he was up to? He was extremely worried. Not to mention Bai Ling, even Xiling would not agree to this. She didn't want anything to happen to her sister, nor did she want anything to happen to Longao. Longao, although I haven't regained my strength as a starry sky ruler, I can help you. Let my sister go back first. I'll stay and help you. Longao waved his hand. I've just said that none of you need to stay. Without you, I can focus on dealing with Master God Diviner and the others. Otherwise, once I have someone to worry about, I may end up making a fool of myself. If it were before, Longao would definitely not say this. But the situation now was completely different. Longao knew that he must not be soft-hearted in this situation. Otherwise, if Xiling and Bai Ling were to follow him and something happened to them, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Xiling and Bai Ling seemed to want to say something, but Longao directly interrupted them and said, Listen to me, go back immediately. As a starry sky ruler, how could Xiling casually listen to someone? But at this moment, whether it was Xiling or Bai Ling, they didn't continue to say anything. They nodded obediently and left. Without the two holding him back, Longao finally breathed a sigh of relief. In the distance. Sister, I'm worried about brother Longao was right just now. If we insist on going, we may become a burden to him. If she could recover her peak strength, Xiling would definitely not leave. But if that was the case, she believed that Longao would not let her go. In the current situation, she had to recognize the facts. However, Bai Ling was still extremely worried. That was because she definitely couldn't let anything happen to Big Brother Long. Therefore, she said with an unwavering expression, "Big sister, I must go to the Spirit Sword Mountain. Even if something happens, I want to be with Big Brother Long." Xiling knew his sister's character very well. Once she had decided on something, she would never change her mind easily, especially when it came to Longao. If it was something else, Xiling would definitely listen to Bai Ling. But this matter. Xiling knew very well that he couldn't relax in the slightest. Otherwise, if something happened to Bai Ling, or if the gains didn't make up for the losses, he would really become a sinner. Regardless of whether Bai Ling was willing or not, Xiling directly trapped Bai Ling. No matter how anxious Bai Ling screamed, he chose to ignore her in the end. Longao originally wanted to deal with the First and Second Starry Sky Empires, but now the situation was completely different. Time was of the essence for him, because the longer he delayed, the more unfavorable it would be for him and Bai Ling. Before Xiling left, he had already told Longao the location of Jianling Mountain. According to Xiling, in addition to the Oracle and Yi Gudu, there were 11 half-step Starry Sky Dominators from the 3 top races in Jianling Mountain. In other words, there was no half-step Starry Sky Dominator in the 9 great Starry Sky Empires. Should he go to Jianling Mountain now? In the end, Longao's rationality prevailed over his impulse, because Longao knew that even if he rushed back to Jianling Mountain now, it would be too late. In that case, a day or two later would not affect the outcome at all. Xiling had also said that even if the Oracle and the others had taken control of Jianling Mountain, it would not be easy to lock onto the origin of Jianling Mountain in a short period of time. It was precisely because of this that Longao decided to stay in the end. Not only did he stay, but he also made a trip back as fast as he could to make sure that Xiling and Bai Ling had really returned to the Soaring Dragon Empire. After he was relieved, he took millions of Starry Sky Corps slaves and left the Soaring Dragon realm in a grandiose manner. This time, Longao really had the intention to kill. In addition to the First and Second Starry Sky Empires, Longao divided more than 7 million Starry Sky Corps slaves. From the 3rd to the 9th Starry Sky Empires, he arranged more than 1 million Starry Sky Corps slaves for each empire. This number may be a drop in the bucket for the most powerful Starry Sky Empires, but the power of the Starry Sky Corps slaves was not to be underestimated. More than 1 million Starry Sky Corps slaves were enough to bring a lot of trouble to the Starry Sky Empires. The biggest reason why Longao did not choose the First and Second Starry Sky Empires was that both empires had peak Starry Sky immortals. This was definitely not a good thing for the Starry Sky Corps slaves. Chapter 2599. Longao didn't personally oversee the situation, as he had called over his big brother, Long Ying. The only other person who could control the Corps slave army was his big brother. Seventh brother, leave this to me. Be careful. With regards to his own big brother, Longao was naturally at ease. He didn't say anything else. It was still the same sentence. Time could not be wasted for the current Longao. Would Longao go to Jianling Mountain? The answer was no. Even after dealing with the Corps slave army, Longao still didn't go to Jianling Mountain. Instead, he found an extremely secluded plain, a secluded valley, and a secluded cave as quickly as possible. What was Longao going to do? Normally, Bai Ling's origin Jianling would be in danger, as no one knew when the Oracle would be able to lock onto the origin Jianling. If the Oracle really did control the origin Jianling, it would be equivalent to controlling Bai Ling's life and death. Regarding this point, how could Longao not know? Even so, Longao still didn't choose to go to Jianling Mountain immediately. The real reason. Longao knew that it would be impossible for him to defeat the divine mathematician and the others even if he rushed to the Spirit Sword Mountain in his current situation. In fact, it would be impossible for him to defeat them. Since breaking through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, his cultivation had been stagnant. No matter how hard he tried, the result was the same. He had to break through. After devouring Gongsun Ao's primordial spirit, Longao had an intuition that he wasn't far from the peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm. If he cultivated normally, this step alone would take many years. The devouring power, on the other hand, required a huge amount of power. If the devouring power wasn't right, then it would be impossible to break through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. However, the current situation was very dangerous. The stronger he was, the more advantageous it would be for him. His only chance was to devour the primordial spirits of the six-peak Starry Sky Immortals. After killing the six-peak universe undyings from the 4th to 9th cosmic empires, Longao did the same thing as before and chose to devour their primordial spirits. If Longao devoured the primordial spirits of six-peak universe undyings and Gongsun Ao's primordial spirit, it would be equivalent to devouring 7-peak universe undyings. What kind of concept was that? Such a thing had never happened before in the vast starry sky. Killing a few pinnacle universe undyings, apart from universe rulers and half-step universe rulers, no one else seemed to be able to do so. Except for Longao. It could be said that Longao was absolutely unprecedented and would never be surpassed in the future. Inside the cave, looking at the 6 primordial spirits floating before him, Longao's expression was very calm. Under normal circumstances, Longao would definitely choose to devour one primordial spirit after another. This was the only way to be safe. But now, Longao definitely wouldn't do that. Although it was safe to devour one primordial spirit after another, it was a waste of time. It could be said that devouring one primordial spirit after another couldn't be compared to devouring 6 primordial spirits at the same time. One would take 1 minute, while the other would take 6 minutes. The difference was 6 times. What kind of concept was that? Longao couldn't wait any longer. Bai Ling's Genling origin was too important, nothing could happen to it. And if he chose to devour 6 primordial spirits at the same time, the time would be reduced by 6 times, but the difficulty would be much higher. Precisely because of this, Longao didn't hesitate and chose to devour 6 primordial spirits at the same time. He chose to give up on one primordial spirit after another. He took a deep breath. Without hesitation, Longao immediately started devouring the primordial spirits of the 6-peak Starry Sky Undyings. Devouring them all at once was much more time-consuming than devouring one primordial spirit after another. However, since things were already like this, Longao couldn't care about anything else. Having just devoured 6 primordial spirits, Longao was hoping that the Chaos 9-colored lotus would help him refine them. Because if he had devoured Gongsun Ao, it would have taken him a long time to refine them. However, with the help of the Chaos 9-colored lotus, this time would be reduced countless times. Longao had already merged with the Chaos 9-colored lotus, so he could control it. In a few short seconds, the Chaos 9-colored lotus had already begun to help him refine the 6 primordial spirits. This speed allowed him to lock onto them countless times faster. It was precisely because of the protection of the chaotic 9-colored lotus that Longao was not worried at all. Strictly speaking, he was now truly immortal. Not to mention other people or other things, even the Starry Sky ruler could not kill him. They could only suppress and seal him by force. Genling Mountain. As time passed, several days passed in the blink of an eye. He'd thought that he would be able to lock onto Bai Ling's Genling origin Genling in the shortest time possible, but after so many days, he still hadn't found it. Even he himself couldn't divine it. As for the reason, Master God Diviner knew why. First, he hadn't mastered the primordial chaos power within the stone tablet. He had only grasped 1/10 of it. As for the rumors circulating outside, they were all exaggerated by countless times. Second, Bai Ling's origin Genling Mountain wasn't the only origin Genling on Genling Mountain. Xiling's origin Genling was no longer there. However, for so many years, Xilin's origin Genling had been there all along. It would definitely interfere with his calculations. Master God Diviner knew that trying to lock onto Bai Ling's Genling origin Genling would be very difficult. Although Genling Mountain didn't seem very large, it was filled with layers upon layers of space. It would take a very long time to find it. However, as time passed, Master God Diviner gradually began to feel less worried. He was certain that if Longao found out about this, then even if he couldn't control Bai Ling's origin Genling, he would still come here. As long as Longao dared to show up, he would be able to lock onto the space around him. When that happened, Longao would be dead beyond the shadow of a doubt. This time, no matter what happened, he had to kill Longao. He couldn't let Longao escape again. In the end, Master God Diviner was still very afraid. He didn't know what this variable Longao would become in the future. If he really did become a threat to him, then he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Yi Dugu and the others didn't give up. They continued to lock onto Bai Ling's origin Genling. Once Bai Ling's origin Genling was devoured, it was obvious what that meant. Chapter 2600. Everyone wanted to devour Bai Ling's origin Genling. Whether it was the divine mathematician or the others, they were very curious in their hearts. Because according to normal circumstances, if Longao knew about this, then there was no doubt that he would definitely come at the fastest speed. But what happened? After so many days, Longao still hadn't shown up. What was going on? It didn't seem like Longao's usual behavior. The only explanation was that Longao didn't know about this. If they couldn't get Longao to come, then everything would be nonsense. Master Clairvoyant's real target was Longao, not Xiling or Bai Ling. If Longao didn't come, then what was the point of controlling Bai Ling's origin Genling? It wasn't worth it to fall out with Xiling for no reason. But it was too late to regret now. He could only hope that Longao would know about this and come as soon as possible. Genling Mountain. Longao's cultivation had broken through to the peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm, but the price was that he had devoured 7 peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm primordial spirits. What did that mean? If he could refine all 7 primordial spirits into a Starry Sky corpse slave, then he could kill anyone under the half-step Starry Sky ruler realm. If that was the case, Longao was confident that he could kill all the peak Starry Sky immortals of the first and second Starry Sky empires. The first Starry Sky Empire had 4 peak Starry Sky immortals, and the second Starry Sky Empire had 3. According to the previous situation, he couldn't deal with these so-called peak Starry Sky immortals. But now, swallowing 7 primordial spirits didn't go to waste. His cultivation base finally broke through to the peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm. Even if he didn't refine himself into a Starry Sky Immortal Realm corpse slave, Longao was still full of confidence. Relying on his own strength, he could fight 1 against 4 or 3 and kill all the peak Starry Sky immortals of the 2 great Starry Sky empires. 1 step forward in cultivation, but the difference in strength was like heaven and earth. For Longao, the difference in strength between Starry Sky Immortal and peak Starry Sky Immortal was too great. They were not on the same level. His original plan was to kill all the peak cosmic rulers of the first and second cosmic empires before heading to Genling Mountain. In the end, Longao was still worried. Looking at the Genling Mountains in the distance, Longao knew that he could not fight head-on. He could only use his wits. Everyone in Genling Mountain was either a space dominator or a half-step space dominator. Even if he broke through the limit of space undying, the gap between him and these people was still huge. Longao was now able to contend against a half-step Starry Sky ruler, but it was impossible for him to kill a half-step Starry Sky ruler. Not to mention Longao, even the Oracle couldn't do it. Although the Mystic Realm wasn't as strong as the Primal Chaos Stone Tablets, its power was still there. He wouldn't deal with Master God Diviner and the others. He only had one goal in mind, and that was to take away Bai Ling's origin Genling. What should he do? Longao knew very well that as soon as he showed himself, the Oracle and the others would lock onto the space around him. When that time came, he wouldn't be able to enter the Primal Chaos Palace. Not to mention taking away the origin genling, he didn't even know if he could leave alive. As Longao's cultivation broke through the limit of space undying, the Space Dominator would be able to lock onto the space around him and prevent him from entering the Primal Chaos Palace. As for the half-step Starry Sky Ruler, according to the previous situation, 3 or more half-step Starry Sky Rulers would be able to lock onto Longao's space and prevent him from entering the Primal Chaos Palace. But now, the situation was completely different. According to Longao's guess, if they wanted to lock onto the space around him, they would need at least 6 or more half-step Space Dominators. As for how many they could reach, he wasn't sure. The situation was very critical. Longao could clearly sense that the Oracle and the others were still in Genling Mountain. If they were still there, he wouldn't be worried. Instead, he was really worried that the Oracle and the others weren't in Genling Mountain, which meant that things were really troublesome. Longao knew that if the Oracle and the others had already taken control of Bai Ling's origin Genling, then there was no doubt that it was useless to continue staying here. After all, their real target was him, not Xiling or Bai Ling's origin Genling. It was precisely because the Oracle and the others hadn't taken control of Bai Ling's origin Genling that they had to stay here. After thinking about it, he still couldn't come up with a good idea. He couldn't wait any longer. Outside Genling Mountain, seeing Longao suddenly appear, the Oracle and the others were very surprised, but they had already thought of something. According to Longao's character, his wife's origin Genling would decide her life and death. If he didn't come, once the origin Genling fell into their hands, Bai Ling would die without a doubt. How could Longao give up on Bai Ling? It was a complete joke. Longao, you finally showed up. The Oracle seemed to have everything under control with a faint smile. Gongsun He and the others looked at Longao with murderous eyes. If it weren't for the Oracle's order, they would have attacked already. How could they be so quiet? Oracle, don't you think it's beneath your dignity to do this? What Longao was implying was that the Oracle was being a bit too shameless. Although he didn't say it explicitly, the Oracle and the others were no fools, and could understand what Longao was implying. The Oracle chuckled, as if he didn't care at all. As far as he was concerned, as long as he could kill Longao, he didn't mind doing something a bit more shameless. After all, he was starting to fear Longao. If it were anyone else, he wouldn't have done something like this. After all, he was the Oracle. For countless years, Longao was the only person the Oracle had ever divined to be a threat to him. It was no wonder he was so nervous. Not even the other sovereigns of the starry sky were so nervous. Cut the weeds and pull up the roots to prevent future trouble. Longao, we're both smart people, so I won't beat around the bush. My main target is you, and I have no interest in Bai Ling's origin Genling. The God Diviner didn't say anything else, but the meaning behind his words was clear. Longao knew exactly what Master God Diviner was implying, and inwardly chuckled coldly. The more Master God Diviner acted like this, the more certain he was that there was no way he could lock onto Bai Ling's origin Genling. Otherwise, he wouldn't be acting like this. Longao, as long as you surrender, I'll leave Mount Genling, and no one else will come to Genling Mountain. What do you say? Master God Diviner definitely had the power to do that. Who would dare to disobey him? Chapter 2601. Master God Diviner's power was clear for all to see. Unless it was a ruler of the starry sky who had grasped primal chaos energy, no one would dare to oppose him. Regarding this point, Longao naturally did not have the slightest doubt. However, he didn't care. Master God Diviner, I can promise you that as long as you leave the Genling Mountain, I'll willingly be suppressed by you. How can I trust you? Blood oath. Longao didn't hesitate. He immediately swore a blood oath. At first, Longao had thought that once his cultivation base broke through to the starry sky immortal realm, he would have a chance to take back Bai Ling's core Genling. But now, things didn't seem so good. Master God Diviner was clearly trying to deal with him. Whether it was a head-on clash or a trap, it would be impossible for him to take back Bai Ling's core Genling. Longao wouldn't let anything happen to Bai Ling, so he couldn't allow the core Genling to fall into his opponent's hands. Master God Diviner was shocked. Yi Dugu and the others were also shocked. If Longao was willing to be suppressed, then it would be impossible for him to make a comeback. Was Longao playing tricks again? Master God Diviner smiled and said, Longao, I'll trust you this time. Starting now, as long as you are willing to be suppressed by me, no one else is allowed to enter the Genling Mountain. Master God Diviner and the others all swore blood oaths. Longao turned and left. Master God Diviner and the others didn't hesitate. They also turned and left. In just a short while, they had all vanished without a trace. No matter how unwilling Bai Jing and the others were, Master God Diviner had already swore blood oaths, and they had also swore blood oaths. They could only compromise. Longao, Master God Diviner, and the others all headed toward the Martial Heaven continent. As for Genling Mountain, other than Master God Diviner and Longao, no one else knew about it. As for the Genling Mountain, the vast starry sky still did not know about it. Otherwise, it would have shaken the entire starry sky. Tianwu continent. If it was in the past, the Sky Martial continent was an unknown plane. But now, the situation was completely different. Everybody knew that there was a ruler of the starry sky in the Martial Heaven plane, the godly mathematician. The God Diviner didn't continue hiding the Martial Heaven continent. But even so, no one dared to take even half a step inside. Unless they were tired of living, they wouldn't dare to enter. Clairvoyant, let's begin. Since he had already made a blood oath, it was impossible for him to go back on his word. Longao knew very well how serious the consequences of breaking a blood oath were. For Bai Ling, not to mention being suppressed, even if he died, he would not even frown. Master God Diviner wasn't in a hurry to deal with Longao. The reason was simple. Longao had a lot of secrets on him. If he were to kill Longao at this time, although he could obtain other things from Longao, he might lose something very important. He would suppress him first and deal with him later. To be safe, Master God Diviner had added the seals of Yi Dugu, Bai Jing, and the others. That wasn't all. Master God Diviner had also gathered the energy of heaven and earth. That way, unless the ruler of the starry sky personally acted, no one in the starry sky would be able to break the seal. As for Longao, it would be even more impossible for him to break the seal on his own. Unless he refined the primal chaos tablet and became the ruler of the starry sky, it would be even more impossible. Forcibly suppressed. Father, why don't we take advantage of this opportunity to kill Longao in one fell swoop? Yi Dugu couldn't figure it out. If you cut the grass without removing the roots, it would grow again when the spring breeze blew. Since his father had divined that Longao was a variable, why didn't he just kill him? That way, he and the others wouldn't have to worry about the consequences. Not to mention Yi Dugu, even Bai Jing and the others were also very curious. They didn't know why the divine mathematician didn't kill Longao since he had already suppressed him. Based on the previous battles, Longao must have obtained some heaven-defying treasure that allows him to achieve an undying body. Even I can only suppress him, but not truly destroy him. I can't even send him into the cycle of reincarnation. Hearing Master Godly Mathematician's words, Bai Jing and the others finally remembered that Longao was indeed immortal in the previous battle. However, they had never thought that Longao was immortal, so they didn't think too much about it. It was hard to believe that even Master God Diviner couldn't kill Longao, or even send him into the cycle of reincarnation. Lord Ruler, I wonder what treasure Longao obtained that allows him to achieve an undying body. They were very curious. There were countless treasures in the universe, but they had never heard of such a heaven-defying treasure. Master God Diviner shook his head. I don't know. Longao is too strange. This treasure should be. Master God Diviner didn't continue. The others were very curious. Just because they didn't know didn't mean that Master God Diviner didn't know either. What was going on? Longao has been sealed. Your mission is complete. You may leave. Everyone cursed inwardly. It was obvious what Longao's treasure meant. If they could take it for themselves, it would be incredibly powerful. It would be comparable to the primal chaos steles, or perhaps even more powerful. But since Master God Diviner had already said so, How could they possibly stay? That would be suicidal. Left with no other choice, they left. What a despicable, shameless master god diviner. They had helped him seal Longao, but had gotten nothing in return. If Longao had died, they might have been able to ask. But the problem was that Longao had only been sealed, not killed. Unless something unexpected happened, Master God Diviner wouldn't want to give them the treasure. Shameless. The more they thought about it, the angrier they got. If it had been anyone else, Bai Jing and the others would have already attacked. Master God Diviner was the only exception. Even if they all joined forces, they still wouldn't be a match for him. In addition to Master God Diviner, there was also Yi Dugu, who had already consumed the primal chaos steelies. If nothing unexpected happened, Yi Dugu would be able to assimilate the steelies and become the Lord of the Stars. In that case, Master God Diviner and Yi Dugu would be two Lords of the Stars. What did that mean? Because of that, no one dared to provoke Master God Diviner. Even if he couldn't kill them, he could still suppress them. He could even send them into the cycle of reincarnation. If that happened, and the arcane pocket realm left the body, the consequences would be too horrible to contemplate. That was what everyone feared the most. Chapter 2602. The Martial Heaven Continent. Father, Longao has already been suppressed. Since he has such a treasure, what should we do? Yi Dugu finally understood why Longao had been so willing to be suppressed. He had been prepared for this for a long time. He had an undying body. Even his father was unable to truly kill him. He couldn't even send him into the cycle of reincarnation. If he hadn't personally heard it from his father, it would have been hard to imagine. For now, I can't think of a better plan. However, since Longao has been suppressed by us, he won't be able to break out of the seal for hundreds of millions of years. Hundreds of millions of years was enough to come up with a good plan to deal with Longao. Was that really the case? If it was before, Yi Dugu would definitely scoff and not put Longao in his eyes. But now, the situation was completely different. Longao was just as his father had said. He was too great, so great that it was hard to believe. He and his father didn't know just how many secrets Longao had. Dugu, starting now, you and I can't casually leave this plane. Father, what's wrong? Did his father care about others? That was a joke. Yi Dugu naturally knew what his father's power meant. In the vast starry sky, other than the white-robed girl who had forced his father back, no one else was a match for him. How could the God Diviner not know what his son was thinking? Longao's secrets will quickly spread. I don't know if the others have refined the primal chaos tablets yet. If they come, we'll be in a passive position. So that was the case. Understood. The Martial Heaven Continent had been sealed once more. The God Diviner was completely confident that even if the others refined the primal chaos tablets and became rulers of the starry sky, they wouldn't be able to lock onto the Martial Heaven Continent's position in a short time. The news that Longao had been suppressed by the God Diviner and the others had already spread throughout the starry sky. It was a complete shock. Ever since Longao had entered the starry sky, he had been counterattacking. No matter who he encountered, not even the 9 starry sky empires, Longao had never been suppressed. What was going on this time? He couldn't figure it out. He really couldn't figure it out. The news of Longao being suppressed caused an incomparable shock. Although everyone had already guessed this result, there were still many people who felt sorry for Longao. According to Longao's talent and potential, he believed that given time, Longao would definitely grow to a terrifying level. But now, there was no chance. A starry sky ruler, an expert who had devoured primal chaos tablets, and 11 half-step starry sky rulers had joined forces to suppress Longao. Could Longao break out of the seal? There was no question about the answer. Soaring Dragon Empire. Of course, Bai Ling and Xiling had already received the news. Bai Ling blamed herself to the extreme, but in the end, she was stopped by Xiling. Whether it was Xiling or Bai Ling, they did not tell their families the news. As for Long Ying, a few people still knew about it. They were calm enough. Xiling and the others knew that even if they went to the Martial Heaven continent now, not only would they be unable to help Longao break out of the seal, but they would also be suppressed by the God Diviner. If that really happened, Longao wouldn't even have a chance. Big sister, what should we do now? Bai Ling seemed to be on the verge of tears. Longao had already been suppressed by the God Diviner and the others. Who knew whether or not they would help? Every day they didn't save her brother Longao would be a day of unease. Xiling also felt very heavy and helpless. She knew what this meant. If they didn't handle this well, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, Xiling didn't seem the slightest bit worried. If even she was worried, then Bai Ling would be even more helpless. Bai Ling, don't worry. I heard from Longao that he has already merged with the primal chaos 9-colored lotus. Furthermore, he has reached a state of endless circulation. Let alone an ordinary person, even the God Diviner wouldn't be able to kill Longao. He wouldn't even be able to send Longao into the cycle of reincarnation. It wasn't just Xiling who knew about this. Even Bai Ling and Yu Yin knew about this. It was precisely because of this that they weren't so worried. However, even so, Bai Ling was still worried. That was because this time, the one suppressing Longao was the God Diviner. It would be a lie to say that she wasn't worried. Sister, I don't need to say more. You should know Brother Long's situation better than I do. No matter what, I have to save Brother Long, even if I have to pay with my life. I know that. However, before we act, we have to go to Genling Mountain and retrieve your origin Genling. Otherwise, this matter will be troublesome in the future. Bai Ling didn't act rashly. She knew that even if she acted rashly, not only would she be unable to help Brother Long, but she would also lose more than she could gain. Xiling and Bai Ling didn't hesitate either. They immediately left the Soaring Dragon Realm and rushed to Genling Mountain as fast as they could. They arrived at the origin Genling smoothly. The God Diviner had already sworn a blood oath that he would never step foot into the Genling Mountain again. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Bai Ling to retrieve her origin Genling. Bai Ling was filled with regret. She had wanted to retrieve her origin Genling before, but Xiling and Longao kept persuading her that it would be more appropriate to place her origin Genling in the Genling Mountain. It was precisely because of this that Bai Ling didn't retrieve her origin Genling, which gave the God Diviner an opportunity to take advantage of her. The more she thought about it, the more she regretted it. The more she thought about it, the guiltier she felt. If it weren't for her, Brother Long would definitely be fine. It was all because of her. If she could, she would rather be the one in trouble instead of Brother Long. However, now that she had successfully obtained the origin Genling, Bai Ling had no intention of returning to the Soaring Dragon Realm. No matter what happened, no matter how great the price she had to pay, she would help Brother Long break out of the seal, even if she had to pay with her life. If it were any other matter, Xiling would definitely stop her. However, she knew that if she stopped her sister from saving Longao, the consequences could be imagined. She definitely wouldn't do such a thing. Xiling also hoped to save Longao, so he accompanied Bai Ling and didn't return to the Soaring Dragon Realm. However, when the two of them were about to lock onto the Sky Martial continent, they angrily discovered that the Sky Martial continent was nowhere to be found. It seemed that the God Diviner already knew that they wouldn't let it go, so he hid the Sky Martial continent. If Xiling could recover his peak strength, he would definitely be able to lock onto the location of the Sky Martial continent. However, the current situation was completely different. Not to mention entering the Sky Martial continent to save Longao, according to the current situation, he couldn't even lock onto the location of the Sky Martial continent. Chapter 2603. The longer this dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for Brother Long. Bai Ling naturally knew the severity of the situation, but Master Godly Mathematician would definitely be prepared. She felt helpless. She was even more anxious. Sister, don't tell me we can't do anything. She sighed deeply. How could Xiling not know his sister's worries? Helpless, Xiling thought about it and said helplessly, Master Godly Mathematician's strength is far above mine. If I could refine the primal chaos tablet, Perhaps I could find the location of the Sky Marshal plane. But now, at this point, Violet's spirit did not continue, but the meaning of her words was very clear. The vast starry sky was boundless. Bai Ling didn't know how to find the location of the Sky Marshal plane. There was no such thing as an airtight wall. Gradually, Long Haoshe, Long Yi and his wife, Yu Yin, Aoshue, Yang and the others all knew that Longao had been suppressed by Master Godly Mathematician. The entire Soaring Dragon Empire was shaken because everyone knew what this meant. And the result? Without a doubt, everyone was furious and impatient. They couldn't wait to go to the Sky Marshal continent and help Longao break out of the seal. But in the end, they were stopped by Long Haoshe and Long Ying. Long Haoshe and Long Ying were very calm because they knew that they had to be calm at a time like this. Otherwise, they might not be able to save Longao. Instead, it would delay the important matter. They had to remain calm. Soaring Dragon Empire. Within a huge palace. Everyone present had grave expressions. Yu Yin, Aoshue, and Yang were worried to the extreme. But Bai Ling and Xiling were missing. Everyone was curious. They didn't know where the two of them had gone. But no matter what, nothing was more important than Longao's matter. So no one cared. Grandfather, we can't wait any longer. Brother Long's life and death are unknown. How can we wait here? Aoshue stood up. Even now, she couldn't understand why her grandfather didn't want her to go to the Sky Marshal continent. Long Haoshe was more anxious than anyone else. But at this moment, how could he be anxious? Aoshue, sit down first. Not daring to disobey, Aoshue finally sat down obediently. According to my guess, since Aoa has been forcibly suppressed by the God Diviner, then the God Diviner will definitely seal the Marshal Heaven continent. Even if we want to go, I'm afraid we won't be able to find the location of the Marshal Heaven continent. Many people had thought of this point, but they were unwilling to believe it. How could Aoshue not know? Grandpa, what should we do now? Before Long Qiong could say anything, Long Qiong suddenly spoke. Don't worry, Big Brother has already merged with the 9-colored Chaos Lotus, and has reached a state of endless circulation. Therefore, even the God Diviner won't be able to destroy Big Brother. There were no less than 5 people in the hall who knew about this. Knowing was one thing, and worrying was another. No one knew what would happen. If they were unlucky, the consequences would be unimaginable. Long Qiong, can you sense your big brother's aura? Long Qiong's status had undergone a heaven-toppling transformation. Other than being Longao's brother, Long Qiong had also devoured the primal chaos tablet. If nothing unexpected happened, he would definitely become the ruler of the starry sky in the future. Practically everyone in the hall had devoured the primal chaos tablet, but they hadn't truly refined it. Otherwise, who would dare provoke the Soaring Dragon Empire? That would be suicide. However, it was still the same thing. Refining a primal chaos tablet wasn't an easy task. Otherwise, the Star Sky rulers wouldn't have been stuck at this point in their attempt to refine another primal chaos tablet. Xiling, Bloodseeker, and the others were also depressed. Grandpa, ever since I devoured the primal chaos tablet, I've been separated from Big Brother. Everyone understood Long Qiong's meaning. Long Haoshe sighed deeply inside, but his expression was still indifferent. He knew that at this time, he was the backbone of the empire. He couldn't fall into chaos. If the empire fell into chaos, it would be completely over. The entire hall fell silent. No one spoke. Everyone's expression was solemn. At this time, no one knew what to say. Time passed quietly. About 2 hours later. You're dismissed. Remember, without my orders, no one is allowed to take half a step out of the empire. Those who disobey will be expelled from the Long family. Yes. No matter how worried they were, no one was willing to go against their grandfather's orders. The empire was already in chaos, and they couldn't add to it. Somewhere in the vast starry sky. Father, if you don't go, I'll go save Longao. Yun Qian was also worried to the extreme. She'd already guessed that the divine mathematician and the others would deal with Longao, but she hadn't expected them to be so despicable and shameless. They'd actually used Bai Ling to threaten Longao and sealed him. Otherwise, even the divine mathematician and the others wouldn't have been able to forcibly suppress Longao. Qian. Hearing her father's voice was a bit cold, Yun Qian's heart was also shocked, and finally, she abruptly stopped, and said in a very worried voice, "Father, don't tell me you are not willing to help me save Longao?" Yun Lu sighed deeply in his heart. How could he not know that his precious daughter really liked Longao? Otherwise, Qian wouldn't have acted like this. If it had been someone else, with his strength and backing, he could have dealt with it in a matter of minutes. Only this matter. Especially when the other party was the divine mathematician. Yun Lu said, "Qian, father knows your feelings, but you have to remember that the divine mathematician is acting this time." Before Yun Lu could finish, Yun Qian said, "Father, you and the divine mathematician have already made an agreement. If he acts now, it's completely against the agreement." Yun Qian couldn't figure out why her father didn't act when the agreement had already been made. Was her father afraid of the divine mathematician? That was a bit ridiculous. Others might not know her father and his backing, but how could she not know? The three rulers of the starry sky could completely ignore the existence of the divine mathematician. If that was the case, why didn't her father act? How could Yun Lu not know what Qian was thinking in her heart? He helplessly said, "I will make a trip. However, Qian, I am not completely confident whether I will be able to rescue Longao. However, you must promise me that no matter what happens, you cannot act recklessly. Otherwise, I will definitely not intervene." Chapter 2604. In the vast starry sky. Yun Lu and the others could naturally lock onto the Marshall Heaven Continent's location, but they didn't enter. "Since you're here, please." Hearing Master God Diviner's words, Yun Lu's group of three entered in a single file. In the outer sea. Within the Crystal Palace. "May I ask why Brother Yun has come?" Yun Lu asked despite knowing the answer. Yun Lu didn't seem to mind. His voice was cold. "Master God Diviner, we agreed that you wouldn't attack Longao. But now, you've broken that agreement. It seems you don't place me in your eyes. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't angry." Master God Diviner smiled. "Yun Lu, we did have an agreement. However, this time, it wasn't me who attacked. It was Longao who asked to be suppressed. Ph, if you hadn't threatened him, would Longao have acted like this? He was truly shameless. He had seen shameless people before, but he had never seen someone this shameless. As the ruler of the starry sky, Master God Diviner's shamelessness had reached an unparalleled level. Master God Diviner continued to smile, not taking it to heart. "You can leave now." Master God Diviner seemed to have become a different person. The deaths of the three rulers of the starry sky had intimidated him. But now, the situation was completely different. If he left just like this, how would he explain it to his daughter? Yun Lu also didn't know why his daughter cared so much about Longao. However, he knew that this was the first time in many years that his daughter liked a boy. "Master God Diviner, there is no enmity between us. Break the seal and let Longao go." Yun Lu waved his hand. Master God Diviner was clearly impatient. He smiled. "Yun Lu, you should know why I made an agreement with you. Don't think that I'm afraid of you. If this continued, the only result would be a complete falling out with the other side." Both sides knew what it meant to have a falling out with the starry sky ruler. That was why. Unless it was absolutely necessary, no one would be so shameless as to fight to the death. Yun Lu suppressed his anger. "Master God Diviner, if we fight, it won't do either of us any good." Yun Lu's meaning was clear. If it were any other matter, Master God Diviner wouldn't have dilly-dallied. After all, Yun Lu had three rulers of the starry sky on his side. Only Longao. "Yun Lu, to tell you the truth, I have already calculated that Longao's variable is completely aimed at me. If I don't get rid of this child..." Master God Diviner's voice suddenly grew colder. "If you were in my place, what would you do?" Since the divine mathematician's words had already reached this point, Yun Lu naturally knew that the divine mathematician would not let Longao off. But when he thought of it, God Diviner was Unless it was a last resort, Master Clairvoyant wouldn't go back on his word. After all, he knew better than anyone what it meant to offend 3 rulers of the stars. Give up. Other than Qian liking Longao, Yunlu himself also admired Longao very much. Otherwise, he would absolutely not have come so easily. Master God Diviner, aren't you worrying too much? Even if Longao's talent is extraordinary, as long as he doesn't devour a primal chaos tablet. He's already devoured a primal chaos tablet. Ah! How was that possible? Yunlu, do you really think I'm afraid of Longao? Longao has already devoured a primal chaos tablet, but I didn't notice. If you were in my place, I'm afraid you would do the same. Yunlu finally understood why Master God Diviner was in such a hurry to destroy Longao. It was because Longao had already devoured a primal chaos tablet. Not devouring a primal chaos tablet and not devouring a primal chaos tablet were 2 completely different concepts. Yunlu finally understood why Longao hadn't devoured a primal chaos tablet and instead given it to God Diviner. Most likely, devouring a primal chaos tablet was the main reason. Even so, Yunlu was still very grateful to Longao. After all, a primal chaos tablet was different from other things. If it were anyone else, they would definitely keep such a heaven-defying treasure for themselves. How could they just casually give it to someone else? Moreover, according to God Diviner, Longao clearly didn't have any interest in her. Master God Diviner, as long as you release Longao, I can guarantee you that Longao won't do anything to you in the future. How about it? Would Master God Diviner choose to believe him? What a joke. Master God Diviner wasn't an idiot. Who could be so sure about something like this? It was utter nonsense. Yunlu, this matter ends here. If you insist on doing this, then there will only be one result between us. Life and death. Master God Diviner was already very clear. Yunlu wasn't an idiot. How could he not know? Sneering in his heart, Master God Diviner didn't care at all. So what if the other side had 3 rulers of the starry sky? As long as they didn't control the primal chaos tablet, they couldn't suppress him. Master God Diviner wasn't the only one who knew this. Yunlu also knew this. An agreement was bullshit. He had thought that since Master God Diviner had made an agreement with him, Master God Diviner would abide by it. He had never imagined that Master God Diviner would be so shameless. Even he couldn't do anything about it. Now that things had come to this, what could he do? He was in a difficult position. Yunlu knew very well that even if he acted now, he wouldn't be able to save Longao. Other than completely falling out with Master God Diviner, there wouldn't be any other result. Master God Diviner didn't speak. Yunlu didn't speak either. Yi Dugu and the 2 rulers of the starry sky also didn't speak. For a time, the Crystal Palace fell into silence. Yunlu, although Longao's talent is precious, you don't have to do this. Don't interfere in this matter. In the future, I will leave you a share of the primal chaos source. Otherwise, Master God Diviner didn't say anything else, but the meaning behind his words was clear. Master God Diviner had already made up his mind. In order to kill Longao, he would offend anyone, and fall out with anyone. As long as he could kill Longao, everything would be fine. In the end, Master God Diviner was afraid. Considering his own calculations, and considering Longao's growth, Master God Diviner was a bit worried. He didn't fear the starry sky ruler, but he did fear Longao. If word of this got out, no one would believe it. After all, Longao was only a peak starry sky immortal. He hadn't even reached the half-step starry sky ruler level, let alone the starry sky ruler level. Patriarch, there's no need for us to fall out with Master God Diviner over Longao. They spoke through their spiritual sense. The 2 elders didn't want to fall out with Master God Diviner. After all, they knew better than anyone what this meant. Chapter 2605. How could Yunlu not know what the 2 elders were thinking? Fighting to the death with Master God Diviner over a single Longao really wasn't worth it. If it had been anyone else, they wouldn't have cared at all. Only Master God Diviner was in a completely different situation. Was he going to leave just like that? Yunlu didn't know how to explain this to Qian. No matter what, this was the first time in many years that Qian had liked a boy so much. As her father, he couldn't bear to see her like this. Master God Diviner didn't say anything. He just watched quietly. Yunlu, my father doesn't fear you. He just doesn't want to shed all pretense of cordiality with you. Master God Diviner didn't stop him. Yunlu didn't mind either. Yi Dugu was no longer the same as before. He'd devoured the primal chaos steely. As long as nothing unexpected happened, he would definitely become the ruler of the stars. Farewell. I won't see you out. Seeing the three of them leave, Master God Diviner let out a long sigh of relief. Although he didn't fear Yunlu, the three of them were still rulers of the stars. If they really fought, it was hard to say who would win and who would lose. However, Master God Diviner was almost certain that for the sake of a single Longao, Yunlu wouldn't shed all pretense of cordiality with him even if he beat him to death. Father, as long as the Longao is alive, he'll always be a problem. He's not as good as us. Yi Dugu made a killing gesture. His meaning was clear. There was nothing he could do. Dugu, I know what you mean. However, the reason why Longao dares to ask to be suppressed by me is because he has his own confidence. Like I said, even I can't really destroy Longao. Although he'd already guessed this result, Yi Dugu still wasn't willing to accept it. He'd already suppressed the Longao, but he couldn't destroy the Longao. What was the difference between that and not suppressing him at all? He wasn't willing to accept it. He really wasn't willing to accept it. Father, what should we do now? You're right. No matter what happens, we have to do everything we can to destroy the Longao as quickly as possible. Otherwise, the Longao's future variables are too great. Yi Dugu did not speak. Since his father had said that even his father couldn't kill Longao, then he really couldn't think of any other way to kill Longao. The God Diviner knew exactly what Yi Dugu was thinking. I don't have a solution for now, but Master God Diviner's face grew darker and darker as he looked off into the distance. After leaving the martial heaven continent, Yunlu and the others quietly stood in the vast starry sky. Clan leader, there's really no need for us to fight to the death with Master God Diviner over one Longao. Patriarch, you have to know what our mission is. If anything happens to you, we won't be able to take responsibility. He waved his hand to stop the two of them from continuing. I know what you mean. How could Yunlu not know? His heart was filled with helplessness. No matter what, he only had one daughter. Let's go. After thinking for a long time. In the end, Yunlu chose to give up. Their mission was too important. If they had to sacrifice the entire clan for one Longao, then the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. If it had been anyone else, it would have been fine. But Master God Diviner was a bit troublesome. If this matter was not handled properly, the consequences would be unimaginable. Yun Qian already knew her father's intentions. She definitely wouldn't give up. Yun Qian had already decided that her father wasn't willing to do anything for the sake of the clan. But she was different. Her life and death had nothing to do with the clan. For the sake of the Longao, she could climb a mountain of blades or dive into a sea of flames. If Yun Qian wanted to do something, Yunlu definitely wouldn't allow it. Helpless, he could only choose to seal her. The difference in power between Yun Qian and Yunlu was too great. They weren't even on the same level. If Yunlu wanted to trap Yun Qian, it would be a matter of minutes. The matter of Longao being forcefully suppressed didn't dissipate for a long time. It still shook the entire vast starry sky. Xiling and Bai Ling couldn't lock onto the sky martial continent. In the end, they still chose to return to the soaring dragon realm. Because the two of them knew that if nothing unexpected happened, the people of the soaring dragon realm should already know about the matter of Longao being suppressed. Currently, the soaring dragon realm was in complete chaos. It could be said that Longao was the backbone of the soaring dragon realm. A legendary figure. Now that the backbone was forcefully suppressed, it was hard to imagine what had happened to the soaring dragon realm. Fortunately, The Soaring Dragon Empire had Longao overseeing it. Otherwise, the consequences would be hundreds or even thousands of times worse. No one could lock onto the position of the Sky Marshal continent. Even if they wanted to help Longao break out of the seal, it would be an impossible task. Soaring Dragon Empire. Within a grand hall, all the core members of the upper echelons were gathered here. From Longao to Longao's brothers and sisters, they all had grave expressions. The longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for Longao. Who knew what would happen next? The entire hall was very quiet. No one spoke. No one knew what to do. Yu Yin, Aoshue, Yang and even Bai Ling were worried to the extreme. However, although the four of them had devoured the primal chaos tablets, they hadn't truly refined them. It was impossible to lock onto the position of the Sky Marshal continent. Furthermore, within the Soaring Dragon Empire, no one who had devoured the primal chaos tablets had been able to refine them. In that case, no one could lock onto the position of the Sky Marshal continent. They were unable to help Longao. Longao's mother, Mu Lin, couldn't wait any longer. She stood up and said, "Father, I have to save Aoa. I don't dare imagine what the consequences will be if we keep waiting like this." No one said anything. They were all extremely worried about Longao's safety. However, at this time, worrying was useless. They all wanted to help Longao, but they were powerless. Longao sighed deeply and helplessly said, "Even if we can lock onto the position of the Sky Marshal continent, we won't be able to help Aoa break out of the seal. At this time, we have to be absolutely calm. Otherwise, not only will we not be able to help Aoa, but we might even be more of a hindrance." How could they not know what their grandfather meant? However, even if they knew, so what? They were too worried. This was like knowing that there was a tiger in the mountain, but still going to the mountain. It was the same principle. The four women wanted to say something, but in the end, they forced themselves to endure. At this time, they could only be anxious and worried. There was nothing they could do. They could only hope to find a solution as soon as possible. Chapter 2606. Very helpless. There were even some who felt despair. Bai Jing, Zhu Geming, Gong Sun He, Xia Feng, Zhu Bolai, Lu Mu, Kong Shao, Fang Buping, and Wei Bujing, the 9 half-step Starry Sky rulers joined forces to suppress Longao and immediately began to lock onto the position of the Soaring Dragon Empire. Cut the weeds and eliminate the roots to prevent future troubles. The 9 half-step Starry Sky rulers were finally afraid. The reason was simple. According to the divine mathematician, Longao himself had obtained 2 primal chaos tablets. Although Longao himself said that the 2 primal chaos tablets he obtained had left on their own, but the matter was already like this, only ghosts would believe it. If someone in the Soaring Dragon Empire refined the primal chaos tablets and became a Starry Sky ruler, then the first unlucky ones would be the 9 great Starry Sky empires. Except for this point. The real reason the 9 wanted to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots was to obtain the primal chaos tablets. It was easy to think about, but to really lock onto it was very difficult. The 9 of them all gathered in the Sky Marshal continent, hoping that the divine mathematician could help them and help them lock onto the position of the Soaring Dragon Empire. The result was, not to mention helping, the divine mathematician didn't even see them. He didn't put them in his eyes at all. Unless it was a Starry Sky ruler, otherwise, in the vast Starry Sky, no one could be put in the eyes of the divine mathematician. Except for Longao. They were very angry. So what if they were angry? No matter what, the divine mathematician's strength was there. In desperation, the 9 of them could only choose to leave and rely on themselves to lock onto the position of the Soaring Dragon Empire. The vast Starry Sky was boundless. Wanting to lock onto a hidden family in the vast Starry Sky was a bit of a pain in the ass. Sky Marshal Continent. Kaihua Town. The divine mathematician sealed Longao in the Kaihua Town. No one knew whether it was intentional or unintentional. A giant peak stood in the middle of the Kaihua Town. The current Kaihua Town was no longer the same as before. Because of Longao, The divine mathematician took his anger out on the Kaihua town. Although he didn't destroy the Kaihua town, all the people inside had been expelled. In other words, in the current Kaihua town, only the giant peak was left. No one dared to step forward. The news had long since spread throughout the Martial Heaven continent. The legendary figure of the Martial Heaven continent, Longao, had been suppressed by a supreme expert. For the martial artists of the Tianwu continent, there was no difference between a starry sky cultivator and an existence above it. No one knew what the starry sky ruler was. Time flew by like a shuttle. 300 years passed in the blink of an eye. Unknowingly, Longao had been suppressed by Master God Diviner for 300 years. Gradually, the vast universe began to forget that Longao had been suppressed. The soaring dragon empire had been tortured for 300 years, but no one was able to lock onto the location of the Sky Martial continent. He was extremely worried. With the dragon slayer's senses, everyone knew very well that Longao did not die at all. It could be considered a blessing amidst misfortune. But even so, as long as Longao didn't break the seal, there would be no peace. No one knew what would happen in the future. 300 years later, a white figure suddenly appeared on the Martial Heaven continent. It was none other than the white-robed girl, Kang Lin. Ever since Kang Lin had left 300 years ago, she had not appeared again. Kang Lin's power went without saying. It was unknown how she had locked onto the Martial Heaven continent. With a single step, she vanished without a trace. The Martial Heaven continent had always been Master God Diviner's territory. As soon as Kang Lin entered, Master God Diviner sensed her. She instantly appeared, blocking Kang Lin's path. Truly, you can wear out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it without any effort. Master God Diviner was delighted to see this white-robed girl appear. She was extremely clear on what Kang Lin meant. If she could control Kang Lin, she would definitely be able to obtain the primal chaos energy within the primal chaos stone tablet. Kang Lin was delirious. Her eyes were empty, and she was expressionless. Let alone Master God Diviner, even others could easily control Kang Lin. However, Kang Lin was extremely fast. Even if someone locked onto her, it would be very difficult to control her. Scram! Kang Lin, who was originally delirious, simply wouldn't have said anything. However, at this moment, she coldly spat out 2 words, scram. If it was anyone else, Master God Diviner definitely wouldn't care about them. Only Kang Lin was a bit terrifying. It was precisely because of this white-robed girl that she had forced her away. But it had to be known that this white-robed girl was the ruler of the starry sky, and she had even grasped primal chaos energy. Her power was far above her own. Fortunately, she was delirious. Otherwise, even Master God Diviner wouldn't dare to stop her. Before Master God Diviner could react, Kang Lin shot forward, her body flickering. In the blink of an eye, she arrived before Master God Diviner. Her attacks seemed weak, but they were terrifying. Even Master God Diviner didn't dare to receive them head-on. He didn't know just how powerful her attacks were. Even so, Master God Diviner still met them head-on. With a bang, Master God Diviner and Kang Lin separated. Master God Diviner was shocked, but he was delighted. He could clearly sense that his opponent had suffered a serious injury. She was definitely weaker than him. He was very afraid of the white-robed girl. Because of this, Master God Diviner was looking forward to the primal chaos energy. If he could obtain the primal chaos energy, his strength would be far above the white-robed girl's. The more this was the case, the more he wanted to deal with the white-robed girl and use her to obtain the primal chaos energy in the primal chaos stone tablet. Kang Lin's face grew paler. Even so, she didn't hesitate to charge at Master God Diviner. Her speed was extremely fast. Wave after wave of continuous attacks, Master God Diviner was gradually unable to resist. What a terrifying attack power! Fortunately, Kang Lin had suffered a serious injury. If she hadn't, the result could be imagined. Master God Diviner was very clear that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. He could take advantage of the white-robed girl's injuries to destroy her and then control her. If the white-robed girl escaped, The consequences would be unimaginable. Master God Diviner couldn't understand. Given the white-robed girl's strength, in the vast starry sky, there was no one who could seriously injure her. He didn't know who could do this. To be able to injure the white-robed girl, it seemed that this person's strength was far above his. If he wasn't mistaken, this person should also be a ruler of the starry sky, and a ruler of the starry sky who had obtained the origin power. Chapter 2607. Sky Marshal Continent. The figures of the two super-experts flashed continuously, exchanging blows back and forth. They were having a great time fighting. The more they fought, the more fearful they became. The more they fought, the more fearful they became. The divine mathematician was very clear that the white-clothed girl was still unconscious. If she regained her consciousness, she would be even stronger. He could still resist a bit now, but in the future. Thinking of this, the divine mathematician's attacks were getting stronger and stronger. Wave after wave, it was as if they could topple mountains and overturn seas. Wanting to control the white-clothed girl was a bit difficult. What should he do? Even the divine mathematician couldn't think of a better way to deal with the white-clothed girl. If this continued, who knew what would happen? The divine mathematician wasn't a fool. He had already guessed that the white-clothed girl had come for Longao. It was hard to imagine the relationship between the white-clothed girl and Longao. Even the divine mathematician couldn't figure it out. Finally, in order to end the battle quickly, the divine mathematician didn't want to cause any trouble for himself. He directly used the primal chaos stone tablet. The primal chaos stone tablets were divided into 3 grades: elementary, middle, and high-grade primal chaos stone tablets. Before obtaining primal chaos energy, the grade of the primal chaos stone tablet couldn't be distinguished. Because of this, even now, the divine mathematician still didn't know what grade the white-clothed girl had devoured was. The divine mathematician wanted to use the primal chaos stone tablet to suppress the white-clothed girl. It was simply impossible. 2 hours later, Kang Lin had already arrived in front of the heaven-piercing mountain. Looking at the mountain in front of her, the divine mathematician's figure descended before her. Without giving the white-clothed girl any chance, the divine mathematician directly attacked. He could already be sure that the white-clothed girl had come for Longao. If the white-clothed girl really broke the seal, then it would be unrealistic to seal Longao in the future. No matter what happened, he couldn't let the white-clothed girl help Longao break the seal. Just as the divine mathematician was attacking with all his strength, the situation suddenly changed. The white-clothed girl with empty eyes and expressionless face, which was Kang Lin, suddenly regained her consciousness and coldly stared at the divine mathematician in front of her. Ah! Seeing that the white-clothed girl had already regained her senses, Master God Diviner was given a fright and came to a halt. He couldn't even defeat the white-clothed girl when she was delirious, let alone now. He did not have the slightest bit of confidence. Who are you? You don't have the qualifications to know. God Diviner, don't think that just because you devoured a high-grade Chaos Stone tablet, you can really reach that level. What did that mean? Master God Diviner had already vaguely guessed that the grades of the Chaos Stone tablets were related to strength. But he didn't know what this relationship was. Even if he had already devoured a high-grade Chaos Stone tablet, it didn't seem to be of much use. Devouring and refining a Chaos Stone tablet was one thing, but obtaining the Chaos energy within the Chaos Stone tablet was another. Master God Diviner's face was as dark as could be. The other party seemed to know about him, but he knew nothing about the white-clothed girl in front of him. Master God Diviner, I won't interfere in the grudge between you and Longao. However, I'll tell you one thing. In the future, you'd best not try to take advantage of my delirium to do anything to me. If you do, I can kill you as easily as lifting my hand. Kang Lin's body suddenly erupted with a terrifying power that instantly enveloped Master God Diviner. It was only for an instant. Master God Diviner could clearly sense the difference between them. It was like the difference between a child and an adult. They weren't existences on the same level. This was the true difference. Strictly speaking, this was the fundamental difference between possessing and not possessing the chaos energy. They weren't existences on the same level. Master God Diviner still didn't know what grade of chaos stone tablet the white-clothed girl had devoured was. But the situation was clear now. No matter what grade the white-clothed girl had devoured, it wasn't an existence he could contend against. His face changed again. Even if he didn't want to give up, in the end, Master God Diviner slowly left. How troublesome. Kang Lin's face was filled with impatience. She wanted to kill Master God Diviner, but for some reason, she couldn't really do it. Looking at the towering peak in front of her, Kang Lin gently slashed out, and the entire peak shattered. Longao walked out from inside. He had been wondering why the seal would suddenly break at this time. So it was because of Kang Lin. There was no need to say more about Kang Lin's strength. Many thanks. Longao was sincerely grateful to Kang Lin. He knew very well that if it weren't for Kang Lin, he would have been sealed again. As for when he would be able to break out, who knew how long it would take? There was only one way to break out of the seal, and that was to successfully refine the Chaos Stone Tablet and become the ruler of the universe. But to refine a neutral Chaos Stone Tablet was a bit difficult. Kang Lin had now regained her consciousness. Her expression was cold as she said, "Longao, I know you're curious. Although I can kill Master God Diviner, for some reason, I can't. And I won't interfere in the grudge between you and Master God Diviner. You're on your own." Longao had already guessed that if it was possible, Kang Lin would have already done it. Why wait until now? As for the reason, Kang Lin didn't say, and Longao didn't ask, because he knew that if Kang Lin wanted to say, then even if he didn't ask, Kang Lin would tell him. If Kang Lin didn't want to say, then even if he asked, it would be useless. He had been sealed for 300 years, and Kang Lin had only just returned and was heavily injured. In the end, he couldn't help but ask, "Kang Lin, you're injured?" Kang Lin nodded and said helplessly, "This is a bit troublesome. Even I don't have full confidence." At this point, Kang Lin suddenly stopped. Clearly, she did not wish to continue speaking. Longao also did not continue asking. However, he was very curious about who could injure Kang Lin in the vast starry sky. Each time Kang Lin left, she would return heavily injured. This time, it seemed to be even more serious. However, Longao was still very grateful. Even so, Kang Lin had helped him escape at the first opportunity. Longao and Kang Lin didn't linger. They immediately left the Martial Heaven continent and rushed back. It had been 300 years, and no one knew how their family was doing. Filled with endless worry, Longao rushed back as quickly as possible. Chapter 2608. Seeing that his family was fine, Longao finally breathed a sigh of relief. The news of Longao breaking out of the seal instantly spread throughout the vast starry sky. Everyone was shocked. The godly mathematician joined forces with 11 half-step starry sky rulers to forcibly suppress Longao. In the end, Longao would probably die or be sealed forever. But the result? In the end, Longao still broke out of the seal. No one knew how Longao did it. Could it be that Longao had also become a starry sky ruler? That seemed a bit too ridiculous. Many people were asking around, wanting to find out what had happened. Gradually, the real truth began to surface. It turned out that the white-robed girl had repelled the godly mathematician to save Longao. What had happened? Hearing this news, everyone was shocked. No one knew why the white-robed girl would save Longao for no reason. Longao was becoming more and more mysterious. Soaring dragon plane. Kang Lin had now regained her consciousness. Not just temporarily, but permanently. As for the reason, Kang Lin did not say and Longao did not ask. But now that Kang Lin had regained her consciousness, she could do whatever she wanted in the vast starry sky. No one dared to do the same. Not to mention ordinary starry sky cultivators, even the godly mathematician and the others did not dare to casually provoke Kang Lin. Back peak. The environment was very elegant. There was a pavilion surrounded by flowers and birds. It was very peaceful. Longao, you are very curious about my background, right? Nodding. Longao didn't say anything because he wasn't the only one who was curious. He believed that everyone in the vast starry sky was curious as well. Kang Lin had suddenly arrived in the vast starry sky without a sound. Until now, her identity was still a mystery. Longao of course wanted to know who Kang Lin was. Intuition told him that Kang Lin's background was definitely not simple. But one had to know. Even the God Diviner and the others were only able to refine the Chaos Stone tablets in the vast starry sky. They were unable to truly control the power of chaos within them. Since stepping into the vast starry skies, Longao had come into contact with the true peak powerhouses of the vast starry skies. However, Kang Lin was the first starry sky ruler he had seen to have mastered the primal chaos force. Longao, you still don't know my identity, but since I chose you when I was delirious, it seems that fate has brought us together. Maybe you can help me in the future. If there's anything, just say it. I don't need it now. If I need it in the future, I will look for you. Longao didn't say anything more because he didn't know what to say. Longao, I'll be leaving soon. I won't be coming back for a while. He was not surprised at all. Longao had already guessed this outcome. Kang Lin had been following him all this time because her mind wasn't clear. Now that Kang Lin had completely recovered her mind, how could she possibly continue staying by his side? Take care of yourself. Longao, you should endure the enmity between you and the God Diviner before you have enough strength. If I'm not wrong, your future is limitless. There are some things you don't need to do. I understand. Understanding was understanding, but if things were to happen, then Longao would still do what he should do. There were some things he clearly knew couldn't be done, but he still had to do it. Roughly 2 hours later, Kang Lin had already stood up and left. In a short while, she had already left the soaring dragon realm. Longao wasn't too worried about Kang Lin. Looking at the entire starry skies, there was no one who could match her, especially now that she had recovered her mind. Within an elegant pavilion. Longao, although Kang Lin saved you this time, if nothing unexpected happens, the God Diviner and the others won't let this matter rest. What do you plan to do next? How could Longao not know about Xiling's worries? Xiling, it's fortunate that Kang Lin helped me this time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to break the seal and leave the martial heaven continent. Just thinking about it made Longao feel some lingering fear. However, he wasn't worried in the slightest. For Bai Ling, let alone being sealed, even losing his life wouldn't be a problem. Longao, we were careless this time. If we had taken away the core Genling earlier, the God Diviner wouldn't have had the slightest chance. Longao already knew that Bai Ling had successfully taken back the core Genling. Only now did he sigh in relief. Xiling, forgive me for asking, but why didn't you and Bai Ling take the core Genling earlier? This was what Longao was most curious about. Originally, he hadn't wanted to ask, but after thinking about it, he still asked. Longao's intuition told him that this matter wasn't so simple. If it had been anyone else, Xiling definitely wouldn't have said it. However, this was Longao. He helplessly said, Longao, I'm guessing that you've already guessed that the Genling Mountain is truly extraordinary. Otherwise, my sister and I wouldn't have chosen the Genling Mountain. As expected. Longao didn't say anything. He just listened. Longao, back then, the 12 of us devoured the Genling Mountain at the same time, each looking for a place to refine it. After 100 years, my sister and I finally found the Genling Mountain. Do you know what kind of place it is? Shaking his head, Longao said, I don't. After so many years of searching and sensing, I gradually realized that the Genling Mountain is indestructible. Longao was very surprised. He knew Xiling's peak power very well. The starry sky dominator's destructive power was terrifying. No place, not even a plane, could withstand such destruction. But the Genling Mountain, even with Xiling's power, couldn't be destroyed. This in itself showed how terrifying the Genling Mountain was. Xiling, there's a secret in the Genling Mountain? That's right. The Genling Mountain is a big secret. Although I don't know the other secrets, the Genling Mountain itself is a formation. I'm not a formation master, so I can't tell how powerful the formation is. Formation? If even Xiling was afraid of a formation, Longao could imagine how powerful the Genling Mountain's formation was. He couldn't wait to see what the formation Xiling was talking about was. Xiling, I want to go to the Genling Mountain and see what's going on. Xiling wasn't surprised at all. He had already guessed that Longao would go to the Genling Mountain. But Xiling said, Longao, have you thought about it? Although this place is hidden, it's not a solution. Why don't we move the entire empire to the Genling Mountain? Once you activate the formation, even the oracle won't be able to take half a step inside. Chapter 2609. Is it that easy to activate? Longao was very curious, because if the formation was that easy to activate, Xiling would have activated it. After so many years, if Xiling had activated it, the previous incident would not have happened. Sure enough. Xiling nodded and said, I have looked for many formation masters, but they could not activate the formation of Genling Mountain. Not only that, but Genling Mountain also seems to be suppressing it. At this point, Xiling's face showed obvious fear, and he did not continue. Longao became more and more curious. Xiling, what is going on? I don't know the details, I just have a bad feeling. Xiling nodded. Longao did not go to Genling Mountain for the time being, because according to Xiling, the matter was definitely not simple. However, the current situation was very special. If they did not solve it quickly, once the clairvoyant master and the others found the location of the soaring dragon realm, the consequences would be unimaginable. Longao, are you going to move? Great Rock, to be honest, I have been sealed by the clairvoyant master for 300 years. If the empire is found by the clairvoyant master, the consequences will be unimaginable. The chaotic Great Rock was very surprised, because the chaotic Great Rock did not know that Longao was suppressed by the clairvoyant master. How could the chaotic Great Rock not know about Longao's worries? The clairvoyant master's strength was needless to say. Even if the clairvoyant master had not mastered the power of chaos, in the vast starry sky, he was still a super existence that could not be ignored. The location is locked. This was the key point. The chaotic Great Rock knew very well that if a safe place could not be locked, then even if they moved, it would be meaningless. I am not sure. Great Rock, I am going to leave this time and take a good look at this place. I will leave the empire to you. Don't worry. After leaving the empire to the chaotic Great Rock, Longao could finally relax. Although the chaotic Great Rock's injuries had not healed, the chaotic Great Rock's strength was still there. Unless the Starry Sky ruler came, no one in the vast starry sky could compete with the chaotic Great Rock. Furthermore, even Master God Diviner might not be able to lock onto the position of the empire in the shortest amount of time. Longao was confident in that. With the primal Chaos Rock's promise, Longao was relieved. After discussing with Xiling, Longao prepared to leave the soaring dragon empire and head to the Genling Mountains to see what was going on in the Genling Mountains. Xiling, what are you doing? Longao, I've been cultivating in Genling Mountain for countless years, so I'm quite familiar with the situation there. I can help you if I go there. If it were anything else, Longao would definitely refuse. The only exception was the Genling Mountain incident. Just as Xiling had said, she knew more about the situation in Genling Mountain than he did. All right. Xiling and Longao did not inform anyone, not even Bai Ling. The fewer people who knew about the Genling Mountain, the better. The two of them sped up to the extreme. When they arrived at the Genling Mountain, they had already entered the Genling Mountain smoothly. No matter what, the Genling Mountain was Xiling's territory. Longao, can you sense anything? Wait a minute. Without hesitation, Longao immediately released his primordial spirit. If he had gone to the Genling Mountain alone, it would not have been easy to sense the existence of the formation. However, with Xiling's help, Longao successfully sensed the existence of the formation in just a few minutes. His expression changed again. Longao, what's the matter with you? Longao let out a long sigh of relief and said fearfully, although my formation skills have not reached the true peak, I'm not far from it. Let me ask you, no matter how powerful the formation in the vast universe is, it would not make me so fearful. In fact, I even feel a trace of fear. Fear? What did that mean? Ziling was very clear about the meaning behind Longao's words. An array formation that could cause even Longao to feel fear, it was obvious what it meant. What kind of formation is it? According to what I just sensed, the formation in Genling Mountain has gathered the power of the vast universe. It even contains the power of chaos. Ziling was not a fool. Of course, he knew what it meant to have the power of chaos in the formation. If what you said is true, then the formation in Genling Mountain is no small matter. No wonder I couldn't activate it after so many years of searching for so many formation masters. If that was the case, Ziling was even more convinced that if he and Longao could activate the formation, then very few people in the vast universe would be able to step into it. By then, Longao would have less to worry about. Ziling, the formation protecting Genling Mountain is no small matter. Even the most powerful formation masters may not be able to activate it, let alone me. Ziling thought for a moment and said, Longao, have you ever wondered why there is such a powerful formation in Genling Mountain for no reason? Longao certainly knew what Ziling meant. Ziling, what do you mean? That's right. For so many years, I've been guessing that the reason there is such a powerful formation protecting Genling Mountain is because it is sealing something. Longao nodded. He had the same guess. If it was not sealing something, how could there be such a powerful formation for no reason? Ziling, if I can study this formation, it will be of great help to my formation. But we are taking a gamble. If there is really something sealed in Genling Mountain, once the formation is activated, we will be in a very passive position. How could I not know what you are talking about? Otherwise, I would not have taken action for so many years. Longao, if it was before, I would not have let you do this. But now, the situation is very dangerous. The marvelous mathematician and the 9 great starry empires, including the Dragon Clan and the Massacre Clan, all want to kill you. Even if you can't improve your cultivation, if you can improve your formation skills, then we will not be in such a passive position. God knew how long it would take for the people of the Soaring Dragon Empire to become Starry Sky dominators. As for Longao's breakthrough from the peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm to the half-step Starry Sky Ruler Realm, it wasn't an easy task either. Longao's breakthrough from the peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm to the peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm showed how difficult it was to make a breakthrough. Apart from the above 2 points, there was only one way to deal with the current situation, and that was to improve Longao's formation skills as much as possible. That way, even if Longao killed everyone, he would have the strength to fight back and would not be in a passive position. Ziling's idea was exactly what Longao was thinking. Different situations led to different solutions. Chapter 26:10. Longao, activate the formation. If there are no accidents, we will move the empire. Just in case. Before Longao could finish, Ziling interrupted and continued, even if we are unlucky and encounter danger, we can solve the danger first and then move the empire. He had to admit that Ziling was more daring than him. Gamble. If he won the gamble, then he would have nothing to worry about. If he lost the gamble, he could just leave and it would have nothing to do with him. In the end, gritting his teeth, Longao nodded and said, "You're right. Different situations require different methods. We don't have much time." After what had happened, Longao knew very well that the enmity between him and the clairvoyant master, as well as the 3 top clans, had reached the point where they could not tolerate each other. It was either you die or I die. In that case, he must not sit still and wait for death. Take the initiative. Both of them were prepared to make a bet. They wanted to open the array formation to try their luck. They wanted to see if they could transfer the empire to another place. However, the biggest problem now was that they didn't know where to start with the array formation of the Sword Spirit Mountain. He felt helpless. More than that, he was depressed. Where should he start? Xiling certainly knew what Longao was thinking, but there was nothing she could do. Although she was the starry sky dominator, she knew nothing about formations and could not help at all. Xiling waited quietly, while Longao began to try his best to find the suppression of the formation, hoping to activate the regret formation of Genling Mountain. In the eyes of outsiders, including the clairvoyant master, Genling Mountain could only be found in layers of space, except for Longao. The current Genling Mountain was not very big in Longao's eyes. With his strength and speed, it would only take him a few minutes to smoothly solve the problem. The result? Nothing. Longao looked around helplessly. He knew why he could not find the suppression of the formation. In the end, it was still Longao's attainments in array formations that had not reached such heights. Longao, is it still not enough? He nodded helplessly. The protective formation of Genling Mountain is too powerful. I don't know where to start. Xiling was not the slightest bit surprised because he had already guessed it. Previously, he had found many array masters. Among them, there were many who were above Longao in the array realm. However, none of them could successfully activate the array formation. This was just the activation. Breaking the formation was far more difficult than activating it. Looks like we can't gamble anymore. Regardless of whether they won or lost the bet, the two of them didn't even have a chance to gamble. Was he going to give up just like that? Longao was unwilling to give up because he knew very well what it meant if he could activate and control this array formation. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If he chose to give it up so easily, how could he face himself? He sighed deeply. Xiling, I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up either. Xiling certainly knew what the Empire meant to Longao. Especially after he had completely fallen out with the clairvoyant, Longao, and the Empire's safety became more and more urgent. Moving the Empire was of utmost importance and could not be delayed at all. It was easy to think about activating and controlling the formation, but it was difficult to actually do it. Xiling did not say much because at this time, she did not know what to say. Even Longao could not solve this problem, let alone now. Time flew by quickly. Unknowingly, a whole year had passed. Longao and Xiling still hadn't taken even half a step out of the Spirit Sword Mountain. They hadn't chosen to give up in the past 1 year. They had searched everywhere, but they still couldn't think of a good way to activate and control the array formation. Was there any point in continuing to persist? Longao, why don't we leave first? As for the matter of the formation, we can talk about it later. Xiling knew very well that even if the two of them continued to stay, it would not make any difference. In this case, it was better to leave now and solve this problem later. Towards Xiling's meaning, how could Longao not know? Longao wasn't willing to give up unless he had no other choice. That was because the Sword Spirit Mountain's array formation was very tempting to him. After all, he and the Empire wouldn't have to worry about anything if he could control this array formation. For the Empire, he could give up everything. Thinking of this, Longao shook his head and said, Xiling, you have said before that our situation is very dangerous. If we choose to give up at this time, no one knows when the marvelous mathematician and the others will be able to locate the Empire. I don't want any accidents, so I have to control this formation. Again, no one knew when Master God Diviner and the others would lock onto the position of the Empire. Therefore, it was best to be able to control the spell formation as a precaution. That way, he would be able to sit back and relax. In the vast starry sky. Ever since Long Yun left the Soaring Dragon realm, he had been very careful and had never mentioned his relationship with Longao to anyone. This was because Long Yun had decided that he must rely on his own efforts to achieve something. Now, Long Yun was still a starry sky legend. Since the birth of his mother, he had directly advanced to a starry sky legend. This kind of thing had never happened before. It could be said that Long Yun's talent was even above his father, Longao. But the strange thing was that ever since Long Yun went to the vast starry sky to gain experience, his cultivation had been unable to make a breakthrough. Even after experiencing several life and death situations, he still could not make a breakthrough. Long Yun was very curious because he had always been very confident in his talent. 300 years ago, Long Yun suddenly entered a plane and had not come out yet. Otherwise, the news of Longao being suppressed by the marvelous mathematician would have spread throughout the vast starry sky. It was impossible for Long Yun not to know. If he knew, how could he not help? Long Yun clearly knew that he could not do it, but he would still do it. As for what happened in the plane that Long Yun entered, no one knew. This was because the Starry Sky Corpse demon sent by Longao also entered the plane with Long Yun and disappeared without a trace. Because of the marvelous mathematician's matter, Longao did not take Long Yun's matter to heart. After all, the current situation was very critical. If there was even the slightest mistake, the consequences would be unimaginable. Longao did not want anything to happen to the empire. Because of the marvelous mathematician, no one dared to take half a step into the Jianling mountain. As for the marvelous mathematician and the others, they did not need to guess that the origin Jianling must have been taken away by Bai Ling. Chapter 26:11. Spring went and winter came. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. 4 years had passed since Longao and Xiling entered Jianling Mountain. In the past 4 years, no matter what Longao thought of, there was no way to successfully open the array, let alone control the array. There were many times when Longao wanted to give up, but when he thought about the safety of his family, he gritted his teeth and persevered. The oracle was too powerful. If no one in the empire could refine the Chaos Tablet and become the ruler of the universe, then there was no doubt that no one could fight against the oracle. Not only that. Besides the oracle, there were other rulers of the universe, especially the blood demon, who had a deep grudge against him. The best solution now was to control the protective formation of Jianling Mountain. That way, he wouldn't have to worry about anything. Xiling didn't leave. He chose to stay. He knew it was impossible, but he didn't want to give up. Just like that. The two still didn't give up. They resolutely searched for the formation's suppression. Longao, what's going on? My formation skills aren't that high. My intuition tells me that the formation's core is right next to me. It's just that I can't sense it. So that was it. At this moment, Longao was simply depressed to the extreme. He knew very well that even a top formation master might not be able to find the formation's core and open the super formation here. Then what should we do now? If we can simulate Jianling Mountain into my Chaos Palace, then I'll have a way to find the formation's core and open the formation. It was easy to say, but difficult to do. It was impossible to enter the primal Chaos Palace from the Sword Spirit Mountain. Longao's intention was very simple. He wanted to borrow the power of the primal Chaos Palace and directly cover the entire Sword Spirit Mountain. When that happened, he might be able to activate the array formation here. As for whether or not it would succeed, that was unknown. You need my help. Xiling knew very well that Longao wouldn't have said that if he didn't need his help. As expected. That's right. He did as he said. The two of them had already wasted too much time. Of course, they hoped to end the battle quickly. In the end, the two of them were still gambling because no one knew what would happen after the formation was activated. Longao communicated with the primal Chaos Palace and released his primordial spirit. As for Xiling, he was continuously transferring power into Longao's body. According to Longao's own strength, it was not enough to do this. He needed the help of a powerful starry sky cultivator. Xiling was the best candidate. Longao was only 50% confident. And the result? In less than a few seconds, Longao was able to cover the entire Jianling Mountain with his power. He was delighted. He knew very well that his success was all thanks to Xiling's help. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to succeed on his own. I found it. Relying on his sensing ability, Longao took a step forward and arrived at a certain place in Jianling Mountain. If it weren't for Xiling's help and the power of the primal Chaos Palace, it would have been impossible to find the array eye. It would have been a fool's dream. Longao, have you thought about it? How could Longao not know what Xiling meant? It was still the same sentence. Activating the formation this time was a gamble. If he won the gamble, his family would be free of worries in the future. Even the marvelous mathematician wouldn't be able to break the formation, and he wouldn't have to worry about the family's safety. If he lost the gamble, no one would know what was under the formation. But strictly speaking, it didn't seem to be a loss for him. After thinking about it, Longao decided to give it a try and see how lucky he was. He took a deep breath. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't worried at all. This was because Longao had already guessed that Jianling Mountain had such a powerful formation seal. It shouldn't be simple. If he was unlucky and something powerful was sealed in Jianling Mountain, he would be in big trouble. But his family was his bottom line. No matter what, nothing could happen to his family. Xiling stared at Longao in front of her as if she wanted to say something. But she knew Longao's character very well. No matter how much she said, it wouldn't make much of a difference. In fact, in Xiling's heart, as long as her sister and Longao were fine, she didn't care about the lives of others. In Xiling's heart, other than loving her sister, she also had other thoughts. But for so many years, Xiling had never expressed her thoughts. They hadn't met yet, so Longao didn't know. Longao didn't make a move for a long time because he had to prepare a foolproof plan. After all, a powerful existence was sealed inside the Spirit Sword Mountain if the seal was broken and the magic array was opened. Then, he would have to reseal the magic array at the first moment. This was very difficult to do. Again, his array formation realm had not reached such a high level. If he made a slight mistake, it would be too late to close the array formation again. 10 minutes later, Longao finally decided to reseal the formation. If it was him in the past, he wouldn't have been able to do it. But now, the situation was completely different. Longao, who had found the formation eye, had full confidence that he could reseal the formation. As for whether he could control the formation, that was still unknown. Longao held the Chaos Axe in his hands and hacked at the formation eye repeatedly. Longao knew clearly that if he didn't use the Chaos Axe and the Chaos 9 axes, he wouldn't be able to break the formation eye. Even with Xiling's help, it would still be the same. Xiling was still channeling energy into Longao's body continuously. With the combined power of two powerful beings, how terrifying was that? Boom, boom, boom. Longao, what should we do now? Xiling knew nothing about formations, so he didn't know how to use his strength. If he were to use his strength blindly, even the clairvoyant wouldn't be able to break the formation eye, let alone the both of them. That was the strength of formations. Longao's face was very dignified, because he never thought that with the help of the power of Purple Spirit, plus the help of the Chaos Axe and the Chaos 9 axes, he still couldn't break the eye of the array. It was a little unbelievable. He knew clearly how strong the combined power of himself and Xiling was. Seems like we're still attacking the wrong spot. I've got to sense it. No matter what, we've got to hit it this time. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.